We're halfway through the Clash Royale League West regular season, and players are pulling out all the stops to make it to Shanghai, China. Hello, I'm Rich Slayton, and this is your top 5 plays from Week 4 of Clash Royale League West. Before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment of the action. Starting things off with our number 5 play, it's Canario against I Am JP, the golden-haired golden boy from Barcelona, Spain, up against the giant slayer of Team Liquid, and they are in a race in sudden death overtime. Next tower to fall means GG, well played, and you see Canario able to catch the first Hog Rider and go in hard in the opposite direction, but check out the push from I Am JP. Hog Rider comes in, snowball, earthquake, triple spell, and oh my gosh, that was a whole lot of towers. Slow motion shows that the Princess Tower of JP and the King Tower of Canario go down at the exact same time, but 3 crowns beats 2. Team Queso came out with a big time victory over the defending world champions. In our next matchup, also Team Liquid, this time it's Igor against Vitor of Pain Gaming, and check out this prediction that comes in on Igor's side. Just when that bomb tower comes out, Lightning takes care of the bomb tower E-Wiz and puts the Royal Giant right on tower on the right hand side. Igor trying his best to hard carry for Team Liquid. On to number 3. It's Boofmac of Tribe Gaming against Belican of Cream Royale Betis in the final moments. They are so very close, and both win conditions come out balloon one direction, Royal Giant comes out the other, and Belican perfectly blocks the Fisherman played by Boofmac, which would have saved that left-hand tower with his Goblin Cage. Admitted later that it was a happy accident, but still a great play to pull both the balloon and get his Royal Giant that winning blow. Our number 2 play, Canario against Lucas. Lucas goes for the Juke Barrel in the back, and check out the Heal Spirit for the King Tower activation. What a creative way to get that King Cannon involved in the game against Bait. Look at that one more time. You put that Heal Spirit on that back left corner of the King Tower against the Juke Barrel, pulls the Goblin and gets the King Tower activation. Very nice play from a seasoned veteran. Our top play of the week, strap in folks, it's gonna be a while. It's Javi Catorze up against Lapacati of Spacestation Gaming. SK currently undefeated in their Clash Royale League Western run, and this play shows part of why. Javi Catorze has been so darn good, and this Magic Archer looks like he's about to go down, but over and over again, look at the protection. This is unbelievable. So much elixir spent by Lapacati just trying to get the white-haired magician off the board, but those arrows keep on coming all the way around to the next barb hut, and finally Lapacati gets that Magic Archer off the board after so much work. And you can see the peanut gallery here on the left-hand side throws the Archer emote. Everyone's looking at that going, Javi Catorze is doing some magic on the board. If it worked once, why not do it again? Magic Archer comes down, and again, take a look at that. Heal Spirit, Ice Golem, Hunter. This Magic Archer, a thorn in the side of Lapacati, can't seem to take care of it at all, and Javi keeps the pressure on, and oh yeah, that Battle Healer not getting there again. This Magic Archer, these Magic Archers in general, had better security than the Pope and more protection than the President of the USA. You see Lapacati can't believe it, disgusted that he could not get to that Magic Archer. Javi Catorze helping take SK Gaming to that perfect 5-0 record on their run to Shanghai, China. We have 4 more weeks of regular season action, guys. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a moment of this run, and check out our next video. See you this next weekend for Clash Royale League West.
Bola de fogo da ponta do recado. Get the rest of the defense off. Oh my word! Perfeita. 4 in a row for Team Queso.
Last weekend at Clash Royale League showcased King of the Hill sweeps and some major upsets this Saturday. We have the bottom three teams on the table, each one 1-5, trying to keep that playoff hope, that glimmer at the end of the tunnel, just barely alive, up against three top-tier teams. Our leader, a team vying for a number 2 spot, and one more team trying to stay in that top 6. Hello and welcome. I'm Rich Slayton. As always, my friend there is Andrew Guy. We'll be here today and tomorrow for a lot of great Clash Royale League action. We are in the final 3 weekends of regular season play, Andrew, and so far it looks like our top 2 teams are going to be SK and Queso, but you have 2 squads in Tribe Gaming and in Spacestation making a strong case they might take one of those spots.
Yeah, it's crazy with SK and Queso how different their stories have been this season. SK, it's been about the entire team working together, and with Queso, it's been a lot of just Ruben rocking it in those final 2 sets. What's up, everyone? You guys joining us on YouTube, you joining us on Twitch, make sure those notifications are turned on. You're following us on Twitch, you're subscribed on YouTube, and you know what? If you got the $5, why don't you subscribe on Twitch as well? Come on, just do it. It could be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching us there. And of course, you guys can follow along on Twitter at Esports Royale EN. You can follow me at Andrew Guy. You can follow my buddy over here at Rich Slayton, of course. And Rich has been actually hosting some competitions on his Twitter, so go and check that out. Some of it has been doing with fantasy. Other has been doing with the lowest HP remaining on a tower. And speaking of fantasy, 250,000 gold. You heard it right. Max couple of those legendaries out. 100 gems. But remember, it's those people that get the most crowns every single week. 4 players that get the most crowns. This is our first weekend without teams doing double headers, so it's going to be a little bit different in choosing. You and I, Rich, have very, very similar lineups this week. I think we have 1 separate player, but it does feel like there's 4 people that are locked in on most people's rosters. And lastly, before we get into the action, break time battles. Go check them out on statsroyale.com. We're going to be seeing our boy Lucas playing today, and next week you get a chance to play up against the content creator himself, Rockstar, so go and check that out. Top 50 we'll see on the leaderboards. Top 5 is going to get some swag, and number 1, Fallen Angel Tam, today, once again, will be facing off against Lucas from Pain Gaming.
Yeah, we actually saw RF take the L the other week, and so it's fun. People are actually getting their opportunity to come in and take some big swings at big-time pros that they might not have in their regular life, in their regular world, but the Break Time Battles does open up that opportunity. Andrew, talking about the Fantasy Royale this week, you know, you don't, as you mentioned, we don't have the double headers from anyone, but it also feels like almost every single matchup, there's a pretty clear favorite versus a pretty clear underdog.
Yeah, 150% with that. Today, when we get into our predictions, you'll see I'm the only person that picked a different team, and honestly, I'm just doing that because I want to be the odd one out. I want to somehow take some points off of you, Deco, and of course, Koji and Manu, so that was the only way to do it. So we'll see, but yeah, as you said, you want to put people that probably played 2v2 and come into that King of the Hill, or if you're Ruben, he's a guy that seems to be in a lot of people's lineups as well. So this week's matches coming up, as you said, a lot of big-time squads facing off against teams that haven't quite been eliminated yet, but we have seen a bit of a surge from the lower part of our standings, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look particularly at Pain Gaming, who will be the last match of the weekend against Team Queso. That, to me, will be a very, very compelling one with the young upstarts going against a team that, as you mentioned, has really been all about Ruben, who's been good enough to carry so far this season, but you know, the big question is how long can he do it? Will Ruben have a bad day? And if Ruben has a bad day tomorrow, Pain Gaming's capable of winning the 2v2 and the King of the Hill, so that will be fascinating. The other really tight one here on this one, Andrew, is again tomorrow. It's that Tribe Gaming Dignitas matchup. Tribe on paper should be much better, but Dig's 3-3, Tribe is 4-2, and Tribe's been having some trouble in the 2v2 set.
Yeah, that'll be our number 3 and number 5 squads facing off to start off tomorrow. And then as we were talking about today, SK Gaming and Chivas Esports to be our number 1 facing off against number 8. Then we got Misfits going up against Cream Real Betis. And then Spacestation Gaming facing off against Team Liquid, which is a very interesting position for Team Liquid, as this could be basically an elimination weekend or an elimination matchup for them.
I mean, this could almost be an elimination weekend for all 3 of the underdogs today. Yeah. And you'll see the picking here. You're the only one, including Twitter. There's only one single square that's not in line with everybody else. SK Gaming, the clear favorites over Chivas, Cream Real Betis. A favor over Misfits, although of today, this seems like the closest. And Spacestation Gaming all across the board being picked over Team Liquid, who not only is having so much trouble finding a 2v2 rhythm, but also having some maybe surprising difficulty in head-to-head play as well.
Yeah, it's been a really surprising season for Team Liquid, and the only reason I go with Misfits is just because they came off that win over SK. We saw some stuff out of them that kind of reminded us of what we expected from the beginning of the season. Obviously, it hasn't kind of gone their way over the last handful of matches, so maybe today they can pull off the upset. But yeah, it's been really tough for these squads. I mean, it feels like you're saying the obvious here when you're like, well, they just can't seem to put 3 sets together on any given day, or 2 sets together to be more accurate on any given day. But Liquid is really surprising in that, and we'll see as we close out our day-to-day what it is. I mean, they have so much talent. They've got the head-to-head talent, and they seem to have people that have had a lot of success in 2v2, but for some reason it just isn't working out for Liquid.
Yeah, you don't know what it is. I mean, some other teams have more hunger at this stage, potentially might be one of the criticisms. We don't really know. But you look at all 3 of our teams that are underdogs today, in Chivas, Misfits, and Team Liquid, all of them 1-5. And with the success of Pain Gaming and that battle down at the bottom, the 3-3 squads, it feels like today, we've talked about the being must-win over and over again. It feels like any team that ends up 1-6 is going to be pretty much out of our playoff hunt.
Yeah, so what's crazy about this weekend is we could up in a position with everyone, or not everyone, with all those teams being eliminated. Hopefully for their sake, that is not the case. Back to the top of our lineup, SK and Chivas. Rich, where is the big deciding factor in this? It feels like SK probably has, a favorite in all of the sets. Where does Chivas find their success? Is it in King of the Hill with Diego B, or what?
That's it. It's Diego B, Diego B, Diego B. Let's go into it. SK Gaming versus Chivas to kick off our Saturday. SK Gaming finally took a loss this week against a very unlikely opponent in Misfits. This week it's Chivas Esports, and I know everyone's rooting for Chivas just because they like these guys, especially the teams right behind SK in the standings.
SK Gaming contra Chivas de Guadalajara. Será que a SK vai se recuperar da última derrota e vai continuar na primeira colocação do torneio?
Hablemos de este gran partido entre SK y las Chivas. Porque es muy importante. SK viene una derrota, las Chivas ahí luchando. Aún tienen esa ligera esperanza para ganar. Así que va a ser un duelo de titanes y lo tenemos ahora mismo.
SK contra las Chivas. Las Chivas quieren su segunda victoria, pero por supuesto que SK, después de la derrota, después de perder el invicto, no creo que lo hagan fácil.
As we go into today's matchup, on one side you have Sam and Morton for SK Gaming, Andrew. 2 of the top win rates, in fact, tied for second place at a 74% win rate, just behind the leader, Ruben. SK Gaming rounded out by Javi Catorze, who has been very, very good in head-to-head play, 2-1 overall in sets, and then Sergio Ramos, the CCGS world champion, who hasn't found his rhythm yet, but still a bit of time before those playoff pictures begin to coalesce.
Yeah, Morton and Sam looking to bounce back today in that 2v2 set against another squad that's been going a little bit back and forth in that 2v2. Chivas Esports. Adrian Piedra and Kevin R.A. will be head-to-head players most likely today. Diego B and Pompeo have been in that 2v2 set. And as you were mentioning at the top there, Rich, before we hopped into the video, Diego B does feel like the it factor for Chivas. We saw that massive King of the Hill sweep over Team Queso in their last matchup. Adrian not able to close things out against Ruben in the final 1v1 set. But it does seem like Diego B is playing some of the best Clash Royale we've seen out of him in his career.
Well, I made a video the other day for my top 5 most valuable players so far through this season, and I threw an honorable mention out to Diego B because despite the 1-5 record for Chivas Esports, he has one of the top 10 win rates in CRL this season, a 58% win rate. He's been good in 2v2, 4-2 in sets there with Pompeo, and then you add in, like you said, that sweep, his work in King of the Hill. Diego B's playing very well. Chivas just has not been able to get the entire team clicking.
Yeah, it's been a tough season for him to have so much success, but just not be able to see it in the standings. So here we go. Diego B and Pompeo, top of your screen, banning Musketeer. The bottom of your screen, Sam and Morton going to the skies here with the ban of Tornado.
Very, very interesting choice here. You don't see a lot of Lava Hound out of SK Gaming. They tend to go a little bit quicker, but maybe in this matchup choosing to be a bit more unpredictable.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what their plan is here. No miners out yet from SK, which when we have seen them run Lava Hound, I do feel like they usually like to play play the miner in there because it's just a great way for them to get chipped. We all know how Sam and Morton feel about that, but it looks like they're going a little bit heavier and slower.
And it might just be that they're slow playing early on and not wanting to throw out any significant pushes yet. Fireball for the Pigs on the right-hand side. A little bit of damage will come in, but will end up being fairly even in the first minute 15.
So Balloon going to be behind here for Morton and Sam. There is the miner going to go right to that Ewiz. Nothing there to catch the miner. Ewiz does get healed, though, from that heal spirit.
Ewiz does go down. Balloon connection. That's going to be tower on the left-hand side. Early, easy tower connection. No great Ewiz protection. And that's going to be a nice start here for SK.
You understand wanting to put a little bit of pressure on the right-hand side, Rich, but going basically naked Hog Riders when you're at max to try to bait out something for your opponent, it just gives them an opportunity to defend efficiently and stay on offense. You know, they're going to take a little bit of damage, but that fireball comes in and it allows them to go on offense with that minor push and clean up that tower.
It's a good heal spirit out of Chivas on the right-hand side. They're not going to get quite tower down, but a good solid chunk and pretty even on Elixir as we go into double.
Yeah, that giant skeleton bomb really evened things up there. Great positioning on that, and poor timing if you're looking at this from SK's point of view.
Poison should take care of the skeleton dragons, or at least mostly do that, and you see the giant skeleton keeping them stuck back there. High lava loon push, and double balloons in for SK.
Yeah, see, the one luxury that SK, or that Pompeo and Diego have is that they can oversell on taking that tower down because they have the giant skeleton to kind of even things up. The only problem is they're playing against Sam and Morton. They recognize that, and they go double balloon right into it.
Pigs pressured in the left-hand lane. Final 10 seconds of regulation. These barbarians will take care of the Royal Hogs. But we are going to go into sudden death overtime with a lead for SK Gaming, but we'll see if they can hold on to it.
Yeah, that giant skeleton gonna not really clean up anything with its bomb as the Mega Minion and Baby Dragon should move away, but might not matter because that balloon is all the way through to tower and it gets the drop.
There you go. Great play on the Ewiz in the pocket from Sam and Morton. You saw the skeleton dragons and the zap just to make sure that balloon connected. And they come out on top here, bouncing back after the subpar performance from last weekend.
Yeah, making it look easy here against Diego B and Pompeo, picking the exact correct moments when to go on offense or when to hold on defense. And honestly, for them, it was mostly the offense. They kind of decided to hold their foot on that gas pedal, make sure they always had enough elixir to hold or stop anything that they were going to bring in at the bridge, not give too much value to that giant skeleton. All nice plays from the Germans over on SK.
So you see the Pigs come in on the right-hand side here, Andrew, and, you know, pretty easy for choice there for SK Gaming to stack up. This poison holds them there, and this is where they throw the giant skeleton high. And here we go, the double balloon drop, seeing the big expenditure, fireball to clear the path.
Yeah, exactly. Double balloon drop. They go one right behind the Lava Hound, but that's met with the Ewiz on the left and, of course, the Hunter right up in its face. So they just drop a second balloon on the other side. They fireball the Ewiz and the Hunter, and it ends up just being a really nice, easy, clear path on through to the tower. This is exactly what this entire game was. It felt like Sam and Morton just kind of were like, all right, we're gonna go and attack now. All right, we're gonna defend a little bit, and here we go, we're gonna take the tower. And that was the exact rhythm of that entire game. Diego B and Pompeo need to figure out how to control this game or this set against Sam and Morton, which is a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah, it's always difficult to control it against Sam and Morton. And, you know, it's interesting. This is a heavier deck, this Lava Loon double deck, but it seemed like they were playing it like a lighter deck. Very, very aggressive. The double balloon plays, kind of throwing off what you might think of the mold of playing Lava Hound or Lava Loon in 2v2.
Yeah, and you know, when I called out earlier in the match, I wasn't sure if the miner was there or not, because usually when they run Lava Miner, they both have the miner in there because they love that chip damage so much. It makes much more sense now why they held on to that miner, because you saw with only one in the hands of both of them, that miner needs to be a little bit more pointed when it goes in. So you saw it went right to that Ewiz. Even if it doesn't take the Ewiz off the board, it demands that the heal spirit has to come down, and you have to double drop on top of the Ewiz to help that miner off of it. So really, really nice, patient decision making there from Sam and Morton.
Here we go, jumping into game number 2. SK Gaming with set point.
Yeah, Benihil and Kuchiku just seem to kind of have their number in Pompeo and Diego B, and then you look over, and that was in their last matchup, and then you look up against Sam and Morton and what Air Surfer and Wings did to them, it was almost a little bit uncharacteristic of their opponents how well they played against Diego B and Morton and Sam respectively.
Yeah, it's interesting. Morton did talk a little bit on Twitter about some mistakes that he made and kind of putting that on him, so it seems like they've maybe shored up. Who knows what the reasons were for being a little bit off. And we mentioned that, Andrew. It looked like SK was just a little bit off this weekend, or last weekend. So far, looking like the Germans are on the same page.
Yeah, and you know what? That's okay. That's actually a good thing to have happen for SK. We talk a lot about, wow, and Diego B and Pompeo are just not letting up here. They're going to do a lot of damage to that tower. Morton and Sam and SK in general, it's okay to have that off day in the regular season when you're 5-0, right? You just don't want that to happen in the playoffs.
Huge heel spirit there. Log comes in a little bit late trying to clear it up a bit, but you have a Royal Giant, a Giant Skeleton, and a Baby Dragon all working in this bridge fight, and a lot of that lead from Chivas Esports has gone to the wayside.
Yeah, if Sam and Morton were just able to get that Giant Skeleton in front of the Royal Giant, that would be towered down, but you know what? I feel like they're feeling okay about how they came out of that exchange. With so much damage on their tower, feeling a little bit closer now.
So you got to expect that there's a freeze also in the deck of Diego B and Pompeo, and we've talked a lot about how good Diego and Pompeo have been this season. Their 2v2's been excellent. 56% win rate together, 4-2 in sets, 9-7 in games, and they've also done fairly well in head-to-head play with Diego at a 60% clip. Pompeo not quite in the same place at 2-5 so far in the season.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing you'd really like to see out of Pompeo, but then you're just beginning to ask too much out of your 2v2 duo, right? If you're expecting them to carry your 2v2 and be your best head-to-head players, that's where there seems to be a bit of a problem here with Chivas Esports. And look at that clone.
Wow, so tower down on the left-hand side. Let's see if they still have a freeze in there somewhere. Graveyard Loon has been going primarily with freeze, but right now this is a super insane clone deck out of Chivas Esports. They're going to get a lot more damage here,
Oh my
Andrew.
goodness. Yes, they are. Giant Skeleton on the Princess Tower. Balloon double dropping on the King. And right now, Sam and Morton are doing everything they can to take that top left tower from Diego B and Pompeo. I don't think they're going to let it happen, though.
And yeah, they couldn't get the Baby Dragon on tower. The Kiwis, the Lightning, 4 HP on there, and not gonna do it. Tower down. GG, well played. Diego B and Pompeo win game number 2.
Yeah, here we are, all even up after 2, and even if that tower does go down with the 4 HP remaining, they spent so much elixir at the end there trying to get that tower down spell-wise that you know Diego B and Pompeo could have went another Giant Skeleton, Balloon in the pocket, maybe Fisherman behind with the Lumberjack to complement. Very, very well played by Chivas Esports in the second game, and a great way to bounce back. I love that they completely shifted their deck. So does Sam and Morton, and they just played it better. That's all.
Yeah, no, it was very, very... I'd love to see the opening again. The big opening push that gave the large bit of lead. I think that's what we're going to see here. No, we're looking at the end instead, the 4 HP finish. And you got to wonder a little bit... Oh, this is actually much earlier here. This is the 40. This is where the tower goes down on the left-hand side. Big old clone play out of Chivas.
Yeah, really nice clone. And, you know, the one thing that we do have to say, in fairness to SK, is this wasn't really the best matchup for them. You know, as you see, they don't have a building to hold that balloon in place. They're not able to drop a Dark Goblin or a Poison behind to help with that graveyard. So not the ideal matchup here for SK Gaming, but Pompeo and Diego still played really well. You know, I really liked what they did after they took that first tower. They went hyper aggressive in the pocket with that balloon, with that Giant Skeleton, knowing that if they were to go to a 2-tower game, they were giving themselves a massive advantage.
Well, you got to wonder how much maybe Sam and Morton were looking for a freeze there rather than a clone after seeing the Graveyard and Balloon together. Of course, the Giant Skeletons do give you some clone play as well. I do wonder if I didn't see the amount of elixir they had there in the final sequence. If SK had played spells in the bridge battle to get the Baby Dragon on tower, if they would have gone tower down and extended that as opposed to going for spell damage on tower, but it might have been an elixir issue.
You talked about the last Baby Dragon on the left-hand side of the map that was kind of sneaking across. Yep. Yeah, and you know, and Diego B and Pompeo did the correct thing. They overspent on that elixir to make sure that they weren't going to make it easy for Sam and Morton. 4 HP can be made up by any unit in the game, so very nice decision making there. Let's hop into game number 3 and see who takes this very great 2v2 set.
Here we go, game 3 on its way. Remember, the bans are Tornado and Musketeer. So interesting to see the Lightning in the hand of SK Gaming with the most popular Lightning target in 2v2 out of the game.
Yeah, that's a good call. Maybe they're looking for a building and for the Hunter, but yeah, that's a very, very good point you make there.
Poison played early out of SK to work on that Night Witch, and with that Poison out of the hand, you see a big sellout, and great call on going Clone when you see the Poison just got played.
Yeah, I like it, and I think right here they may not get a ton out of it, but if you look at SK, they're at 7 Elixir. On the other side of it, they're at 11.
And Chivas chooses to go cheap on the expenditure against the Baby Dragon. Diego and Pompeo will have the lead as the first minute of gameplay passes.
So you have to imagine that whoever's holding that Poison, I believe it's Sam, will not be playing that for a very long time because that needs to be in cycle when that clone comes down.
Snowball does help a little bit. Of course, not the same level of response as the Poison. But here's the hard part, Andrew, is if you're saving the Poison for the clone, what do you do about graveyards?
Yeah, and right now we're seeing what they're doing for the very first time, which is spending a lot of Elixir, Rich. They're spending Elixir on a Mega Minion, a Lumberjack, and a Heal Spirit, and it's all going to get cleaned up by this Giant Skeleton Bomb. So that's something that Sam and Morton need to figure out, and they need to figure it out right now. They cannot have pushes like this happen, especially when they get into double Elixir.
Diego B and Pompeo going back to the well in game number 3, and so far working out very, very well for them. Giant Skeleton balloon push coming on the left-hand side. Bomb Tower in the pocket in the correct spot for contending with that balloon. Snowball should push it back into bomb range.
Yeah, really, really nice placement on that Baby Dragon to get and stay on top of that balloon. Snowball comes in at the very last moment to ensure no damage done to tower other than with that death damage. Nicely played by Sam and Morton, but they got a lot of catch-up to do.
Yeah, that was a much cleaner defense, and it seems like they might be in the cycle position they want for these defenses going on, but of course one graveyard or one clone can change everything if they have one piece not working.
Yeah, and the other thing that Diego B and Pompeo need to do right now is they need to look for places to try and bait out the Poison from their opponents. So right now, it's there it is. See, the units all stack up together. It's not fireballable, so they decide to go in with the Poison, and that way they're able to drop in the Graveyard Clone on the back end. I really like this deck.
It's a lot of fun to look at that on the right-hand side. Fisherman adding a little bit of damage in. 2 Baby Dragons, though, in the counter push and pretty even on Elixir. We're going to see Morton and Sam go heavy in the left-hand lane right now.
Yeah, this is where trouble could happen here for Diego and Pompeo. Fireball's going to come in to help clear up that DPS from those Skeleton Dragons, and this Royal Giant going to do a great bit of damage, almost evening the game up just like that.
Diego and Pompeo did win the Fisherman fight there, but wasn't quite enough. Ewas will have to be responded to. You see Diego and Pompeo happy with that one. Giant Skeleton comes out maybe a bit early for SK with 1:45 left.
Yeah, this bridge battle is going to become really, really tough here for both of these guys, the Giant Skeletons, when you actually pull the trigger on your win condition. I feel like because Diego and Pompeo have 2 separate win conditions in the graveyard and the balloon, they might have a slight advantage here over Morton and Sam.
The Fisherman fights here might get really important as a part of that bridge battle, Andrew. We saw the attempt out of SK to pull the Giant Skeleton away in the last sequence and make room for their Royal Giant. So far, good control by Diego and Pompeo in that situation.
And that's exactly what has to happen, which is why we're going to see this same battle happen over and over and over, because the moment that the Giant Skeleton Bomb of your opponent is out of the way, you can finally go in with your win conditions. So you see there, Diego B and Pompeo had just enough squeak by on the left-hand side. They decided to go back on offense.
Very smart snowball fireball sequence out of Chivas Esports, getting a lot of extra value for that graveyard and tower damage. 40 seconds left, and it looks like SK is in danger of losing their second 2v2 set in a row.
SK gets that Royal Giant, not on tower. Great pull from the Fisherman, late Goblin Cage there, and now back on offense is Sam and Morton again. But that Royal Giant's going to go right into a Night Witch Lumberjack.
That's huge. Oh, that's huge, Andrew. The Fisherman goes down, and so they're able to pull the Fisherman out of the way. 9:23 on the left-hand side, 7:30 down on the bottom left-hand side for SK Gaming. Balloons making a beeline for the tower. That's going to be it. Pompeo and Diego B take the 2v2 set.
There we go. 2 sets in a row to two squads that have been populating the bottom of our standings for most of the season. Sam and Morton, as you can tell, very, very disappointed. Pompeo and Diego and their whole squad ecstatic, knowing that they just took down the best 2v2 squad in all of CRL West.
It was a great performance, and I don't think that Sam and Morton really had a great plan for it. And, you know, you talk about loving this deck, Andrew. We've seen Graveyard Loom with Freeze. The clone makes it such a weird difference, right? Because now it's, as we talked about, it stretches the poison thin, and Sam and Morton just didn't really know where their poison wanted to be in a lot of situations.
Well, there's so many things about this that I'm curious. You know, what happens if Sam and Morton run a super quick cycle deck that they don't have to actually worry about these bridge battles? But since bridge battles are such an integral part of 2v2, I love this deck because you see right here, there's so many ways it can threaten you. This one, they don't even have to drop the Graveyard in. This is all about the overspending and seeing what all your opponent has to offer in regards to defense. Once they figure it out, Pompeo and Diego do the exact same thing for like 2 minutes. Drop Giant Skeleton at the bridge, see how the bridge battle goes, win the Fisherman battle, and then if anything survives, then we'll try to worry about our win conditions. Otherwise, it was all defense all day.
You know what was really interesting about those clone pushes, Andrew, is when we saw it in one of those sequences happen more than once, was that SK Gaming had to fireball in a way that dealt with the clone overall, not just with the balloon. And more than once we saw as the balloon got cloned, the original one get pushed away from the bomb tower rather than towards the bomb tower because of that necessary placement. So it sort of forced out non-ideal situations, and that required the snowball to correct against the original balloon. So a lot of difficult moving parts here that Sam and Morton had to figure out on the fly. They did the best they could with it, but Chivas Esports with a great 2v2 performance, and now 5-2 in sets on the season for Diego B and Pompeo.
Yeah, and the other thing that I love that Diego B and Pompeo did through that entire game was they never ever gave them poison value except for when they wanted them to take it, right? They saw the clone early on after poison came out, wasn't in cycle. From that moment on, poison wasn't played until Chivas gave so much value that they had to, because it's not even just about the value or the positive trade, it's about too much DPS coming across the river. So what do? They put all that down, you get the poison finally out of Sam, and then what? Immediately go on offense with the balloon graveyard left-hand side with all those units that squeak by. So this deck has a lot of threats that is really, really hard to control.
Yeah, it was brutal. And let's go ahead. I guess we're jumping right into it. It looks like our King of the Hill has begun. OP Sam and Kevin starting things off here in King of the Hill.
Yep, here we go. So we're going to hop in. Kevin been playing a little bit better than he started off this season, but not much. And Sam, on the other hand of it, has been exceptional in head-to-head.
And Kevin going with some variation of bridge spam. You see the Magic Archer and the Royal Ghost. Of course, there's the no win condition version, or the no spell version, which this one might be all about winning bridge battles. If this is what I'm thinking about, Andrew, this is one of the more popular decks, and yes, it is. This might be the most popular deck in the game right now.
Yeah, this is the deck that I was talking to you about last week, where I kind of snuck in on a late night session and I was watching Vulcan play for a while. And as I said, he played against Benzer Rydell and Manong Jibi, and that was a mirror matchup. This deck has just completely dominated ladder and challenges over this last week. It's really, really hard to control and double and triple elixir, and if your opponent gets a great heal spirit in, the bridge battle becomes unwinnable. So you see right now, Kevin's going to go a little bit more aggressive than Sam is, and he's going to get damage in early on, but I don't know if that's always the best plan with this deck.
Yeah, you were talking when we first spoke about this deck, Andrew, about sitting back a whole lot, making them overspend, and then just piling up at the bridge, heal spiriting, and overwhelming as time goes on.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is this deck can do that so quickly. You'll really feel like you have the game in control, and then all of a sudden, 10 seconds later and one bridge battle later, you'll find yourself behind an elixir, and it's impossible to catch up with a good heal spirit.
It does look like it's Royal Giant for OP Sam. How does Kevin defend against the Royal Giant in this situation?
That is actually one of the more difficult matchups, Rich, because as you can see, of course, with Kevin, there's not a lot to stun. He should have the Ewiz in as the last card there, but otherwise, there's no way to reset, there's no way to retarget, and there's no way to knock back.
So we'll see how this one breaks down as time goes on. OP Sam going to keep a very, very close eye on those cannon carts as they get across the bridge. And now a huge push on the left-hand side for Kevin.
Yeah, exactly. So Kevin's going to do this huge push here, and then honestly, instead of sending in that bar barrel, I think he sends that bar barrel to the other lane. Because as you can see, it becomes wasted elixir. It's not actually defending the cannon cart, and you need to make those positive trades with this deck.
Royal goes cycle to the right-hand side for OP Sam. Kevin to the left side. Kevin so far 2 and 6, 25% win rate on the season. We're going to get one more here against OP Sam as we go into sudden death overtime.
Nice fireball there. Sam not going to go on offense still because he knows how quickly this deck can punish him. So he's only at 4 elixir, decides to sit back, correct thing to do.
At what point does Sam pull the trigger here, though, Andrew? Because, you know, the whole point of Kevin's deck is to sit back, play some defense, win some bridge fights, and eventually make it hard for you to be able to hold up on both lanes. When does Sam actually start going on offense?
It's really tough because when I have played this deck and have won against Royal Giant, it's because I'm doing exactly what Kevin is doing. You never stop so that your opponent can never support his Royal Giant push. So right now, Sam has just enough. If this is really easily defended by Kevin, it can be trouble for Sam. But right there is already a bad start. He feeds that bar barrel to the Hunter, doesn't get cleared off the board. Already not the way Kevin needed it to go.
Dual lane pressure coming in from Kevin, the battle ram on the right-hand side. Sam might choose to eat this and defend the left, and he does, but the cannon cart still connects. Hunter is late with a minute left. Kevin roars into the lead.
And that's exactly what we're talking about, right? Sam goes maybe a little too aggressive with that Royal Giant. Yes, he gets some damage out of it, but Kevin pours so much down to defend against it. The most DPS to clear that Royal Giant off the off the board, and then that all becomes a counter push, and then you have to attack the opposite lane.
Magic Archer playing in the middle right now just to help on defense for Kevin. In a good spot right now is the Chivas rookie. Sam kind of sitting there on his elixir for a moment, trying to figure out what he wants to do, but he's going to get overwhelmed here. Fireball does come in and stop the cannon cart at the bridge.
I believe Sam is going to lose right about now. This seems really, really difficult to come back from. This Royal Giant, I feel like, is a bit of an overspend. Obviously, the E-Wiz is going to come in to slow it down.
Here we go, 12-16 on the right-hand side, final 16 seconds. Bandit, will it get free and dash? E-Wiz comes in the middle, but there's so much damage on that E-Wiz right now. Magic Archer does not get geometry. Can Sam battle back here? Fireball in. Will it be enough? No, it will not. Kevin sneaks through with 2 seconds left and takes the win back. Sam nearly was able to pull the rug out from under the rookie.
Yeah, and Sam there just caught between a rock and a hard place. If I fireball the tower, I take the damage lead, but then I don't have it to stop all these barbs piling up on my Princess Tower. That is the thing that's so frustrating to play against this deck that Kevin is running, is you can literally be leading or in control the entire time, and one bad bridge push can take the game from you. Obviously, that wasn't the case this time, but really, really well played by Kevin.
So you see this Royal Giant on the right-hand side, and this was the push that started putting things back in contention here, but you know, we're talking about, Andrew, is the dual lane pressure. The ability of this deck to just, it's a bridge spam deck. It's a weird bridge spam deck. There's no big spell in it, but it spams the bridge, and that cannon cart connection on the left, that's the difference. That's what made it happen.
Yeah, you know, what it was for Sam was he was so very close with this maintaining the gameplay. It was just that one Royal Giant push, which is what we actually saw in the last replay, was kind of the consequences of Sam's first Royal Giant push coming in, was that massive hit he took on both sides of the board. It's just so tough to find a spot when to attack, when to play your win condition, especially when that win condition is so squishy and provides no utility anywhere else on the board. Really well played here by Kevin, and Sam, he did everything he could. There's just no way to stay on offense.
I mean, if he had one more troop go into the pocket to distract, Sam wins that one by a hair on a last-second fireball. But just couldn't get anything down quickly enough. That bar barrel deploy time rolling out there, not able to distract, and instead Kevin comes out with the win. And right now, Chivas Esports with a chance to give a second weekend upset in a row here if they can win this King of the Hill. Yeah,
that's actually a really, really good point. Maybe proving every single one of us wrong. And you know, this is the danger with Chivas Esports. Their first 2 sets is where they really, really can get things done, right? In that 2v2, we've seen a lot of success, and then the fact that you do have Diego B and Pompeo usually in there, and with Kevin playing better here in the season, you're not wrong, man. This could be a huge, huge upset and 2 L's in a row for SK Gaming.
We'll find out. Of course, Javi Catorze up next for SK Gaming against the rookie. 2 more lives left for the squad out of Germany. We'll see if Javi can get it done. Andrew, it does feel like if SK is able to win the King of the Hill, they have a pretty clear advantage in the 1v1 set, but that's a big if at this point.
Yeah, it's really tough for Chivas. I think it's too late in the season to really move things around, but ideally for them, it really would be moving, I think, Adrian probably into the 2v2 and somehow saving Diego for that 1v1, but you can't have everything. Let's hop into this second game at King of the Hill. Kevin coming off of a nice win over OP Sam.
Yeah, very solid win. And you know, that deck can be so frustrating, and I like seeing that Kevin's not going right back to it. I think that's a very, very good choice.
Yeah, you know, because once Sam recognized, obviously, what he was playing against, and if he just had a way to get damage on tower that wasn't so expensive, I think he would have been able to play defense and win that out, because it is really difficult to get tower damage, you know, as we recognize looking that there's no big spell or direct unit to that tower. But just wasn't the case. Royal Giant, not the win condition you want.
So Hog triple spell with archers for Kevin this time around. Javi going with minor wall breakers. And the Hog in on the left-hand side. Bomb tower picks it up easily.
Yep, all these things making a lot of sense. Hog comes in, Earthquake to support. We saw the archers, Knight, Log, Snowball. Really no question there.
First minute of gameplay away. So far, Kevin with a lead here in his second game of this King of the Hill. Of course, Kevin is the Red Bull MEO2 Mexico champion from 2020, did make the top 16 of the World Finals this last year. A lot of experience for the young player outside of CRL, and as we've said before, someone that Chivas Esports does see a future in, despite the challenges he's had so far this season.
Yeah, you know, he's a rookie. I think if he has an entire second season where he struggles a lot, that's when you really start to worry or maybe pull that ripcord. But as of right now, he's still a rookie and he's had some great moments. I think it's strong for Chivas to just keep riding that.
Minor into the pre-skeletons. Yeah, very nice skeletons.
Yeah, really nice skeletons there. And that's the kind of stuff Kevin's going to have to do for this entire game if he wants to win against Javi. Obviously, the triple spell and the quick Hog as the win condition is really nice for him. The triple spell is going to help keep those wall breakers at bay, but he doesn't have a lot of things to keep catching that minor.
And the Hog Rider does not get a shot, but so far it doesn't matter. The triple spell putting damage on tower, and you know, the Spear Goblins in particular in Javi's hand, in Javi's deck, do make things a little bit better for Kevin, almost in a way, because of his triple spell.
Yeah.
You can see right here, EQ will take care of it.
Yeah, and that's a frustrating thing there for Javi to have that EQ take off your Spear Goblins, so you have to basically triple drop in that situation you saw there. Spear Goblins plus the Bomb Tower plus the Knight, now down an Elixir. Now this Knight's not going to demand much of a response.
And of course, triple spell to deal with the wall breakers. One does connect here on the right-hand side, though, 1657, and just like that, Javi has made it much, much closer.
Yeah, there were some interesting decisions there made on both sides. Javi had a nice prediction log looking for Kevin to maybe play defense the same way he did in the prior exchange, but Kevin did a really good job of switching things up. Unfortunately, Javi still gets that wall breaker connection.
And finally, Kevin does play the bomb tower to pull the wall breakers. What we haven't seen out of Javi yet is any variation, and there we go. Yeah. Bomb tower played high and late this time to try to deal with that Hog Rider.
Yeah, Javi has a lot of makeup to go, though. So there you go. Knight up front, Minor behind. Doesn't go in with the wall breakers until late. Maybe try to take this bomb tower off the board.
1273 right-hand side to 710. Spear Goblins come down this time early to deal with the Knight, and that might be a better usage of those spears than what he's been doing so far. A little chip damage there, and there we go. A high bomb tower. The EQ doesn't get it. Here's an opening, a potential opportunity, and maybe the last one for Javi Catorze.
Yeah, I believe it is, Rich. It's just really, really tough matchup here. There's just all the responses. The only difficult thing for Kevin is what he's going to use to catch that minor. But the thing is he doesn't actually need to catch the minor as long as he deals with the damage on the front end, with the wall breakers, the Knight, what have you.
That EQ does put that left-hand tower into dangerous range, but it does also open up the opportunity for Javi to spend like crazy on the right-hand side. It will not be enough, though. Kevin going to cycle back around, get it done. 2 up, 2 down, and Kevin now with a chance for a King of the Hill sweep against SK Gaming and a 2-0 for Chivas if he can get it done here against Morton.
Yeah, you know, Kevin's been playing really great in his last few matches against Misfits. He picks up 2 big wins in this set and ends up dropping to Schwarzen. Then in his next match, he loses to IMJP. Right back with SK Gaming, starting off 2-0. This is a big, big moment for Kevin RA, who's maybe finally found his comfort zone here in CRL.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, look, one of the big things today is the matchups so far for Kevin have been good.
Yeah.
But he's also played mistake-free Clash Royale pretty much. So you put those 2 things together, and he's having a great day. And yeah, this is a tough situation. Hog triple spell against this particular minor wall breakers deck, and you gotta wonder if maybe Javi wishes he'd gone with a variation that was not this Spear Goblins version.
Yeah, it was just really tough. You know, early on we were talking about how the biggest difficulty that Kevin was going to have was having the units to catch that miner if Javi decided to double down spell-wise, right? Because the best thing is going to be your skeletons. But the thing is that Kevin did a good enough job of dealing with the highest damage dealing units on the board that he could ignore that miner for the most part and then continue to play offense. So nice decision making by Kevin. Another great matchup for Kevin. And will it be the same thing here in game number 3? Because as of right now, the analysts for Chivas Esports have definitely been earning that paycheck.
Yeah, no, it's huge. And this is kind of how Chivas did during the No Tilt League Special Edition. You talk about Anaban's great run back in the spring. Chivas did a very good job of setting up Anaban with great matchups during that run to pretty deep overall in that tournament. And then they didn't have it together in the spring. So right now, looks like they're doing their work pretty well here. Kevin playing good Clash Royale, but of course, one of the most difficult outs overall in the game. 74% win rate on the season. One of the best to ever play competitive Clash Royale in front of him, Morton. You got to wonder what the nerves are like right now for Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're through the roof. This is a big moment for them. And Rich, do you feel that if Kevin loses this and Morton, let's say, turns around, reverse sweeps it, does Chivas' chances to win this match go right out the window as they go to that 1v1 set?
I mean, at that point, it becomes 75-25, 80-20 SK's favor. But you do have to first get Morton to go 1, 2, 3 in a row.
Yeah. And honestly, I think today is not the first time, but I think it's when we see Kevin go back in that 1v1 set. Based off how he's been playing today in that leadoff spot, if they do go to 1v1, I think he'll have enough time to take a seat and reassess or readjust.
Yeah, you're probably right. Morton, of course, does have the ability to clinch here, so he certainly, we've seen him come up clutch on the back end, and that'll be a big question of what that does to the confidence overall of Chivas Esports if he does do that. But again, as we said before, that's a pretty big if.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we go. Minor wall breakers from Kevin. Morton on the other side.
Looking like going back to that Royal Giant deck for SK Gaming.
So I like Morton's matchup much better than the last one from Javi.
Yeah, true. Very true indeed. Fisherman low, Hunter high.
And that's exactly why. He has the ability to get on top of the wall breakers with numerous units that will take care of them. If they're unsupported, you got the Heal Spirit, you got the Barb Barrel. If they are supported, that E-Wiz or Hunter are going to be great.
Let's see if Kevin goes minor here just to make that Musketeer a bit more frustrating. Instead, nope, chooses to sit back and take the even elixir as we go into double.
Nice little poke here. Does get 2 Spear Goblin throws, so it's a win for Kevin.
And goes in front with the miner this time and almost gets the wall breaker connection. The rookie firmly in control, but now as he going to double and beyond, can Morton begin to put together an offense?
Yeah, he went really aggressive with that fireball, but I think it's because he knows he's got this defense locked down. So Miner going to go up front, Royal Ghost on top of that Musketeer, and now with that Heal Spirit missing the Royal Giant, exactly. Bomb Tower comes in, Kevin should be in a good spot.
The Royal Ghost, though, does go on a weird journey, just pushed a half tile outside, and pretty much gets things nice and even with this Royal Giant connection. Morton's going to take the lead right here, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, I did not expect that Royal Ghost to just go right on through. I thought the Bomb Tower was maybe going to pull it over, and then you know, Kevin would have a more targeted area to put his DPS down to clean things up. But that one small misplay, the Royal Ghost going through with its new trajectory, or its new path, that spells a lot of trouble here for Chivas.
Log out of cycle for Kevin, so Heal Spirit comes in, does its job perfectly. Kevin looked like he was in pretty good control here, but an errant Royal Ghost suddenly changes everything. 440 on the right-hand side for Kevin, Miner into the back, and those wall breakers will be easily taken care of at the bridge.
Yeah, you really like that. Morten knows he has to go hyper-aggressive, doesn't have a building. Royal Ghost plus Barb's going to make easy cleanup of that. Not going to get this Heal Spirit in, but he does have a second Fisherman down.
Yeah, good log value there for Kevin to clean things off, and now getting some Fireball in as well. 756 on the right-hand side. Hunter should not be an issue. That Musketeer, trying to go pressure instead is Kevin, not wanting to let Morten get on the offensive.
And look at that, the early cycled Ewas from Morten. I love it. It goes to the back just in case the Miner goes there as well. Retargets it, no damage in from the Miner initially. Gets a hit here at the end, and Morten goes right back on offense.
Is there a bomb tower available for Kevin? Comes in very late. Musketeer gets pulled. Trying to find one shot through for the Royal Giant.
Wow.
And it comes through. Big shot for Morten. 186 left on that right-hand side.
I mean, that Royal Ghost early on, even if it was just a Royal Ghost sneaking by, you feel like Kevin should be able to reset a little bit better. But the problem was he had his defense figured out the way he was going to keep it completely mitigated, and that Royal Ghost threw a huge wrench in his plans. Morten takes the W here in Game 3.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Kevin thought it was going to get pulled too. Didn't throw any sort of troop in the pocket there to make sure that the Royal Ghost went towards that bomb tower, and Morten pretty much abused that one mistake and keeps SK Gaming alive here in Week 6.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes a really difficult battle. I mean, when you run those high cycle decks, or you run those decks that are such big boom or bust plays. You talk about Miner connecting with wall breakers, it's massive, but otherwise just that Miner chip damage is too little to switch towers late in the game. So Kevin was caught continuing to go in the same lane, continuing to try to take that right-hand tower down, and Morten just able to defend well. Great plays up high to stop those wall breakers.
So you see the pressure coming in and the pieces that Morten did for defense, right? So you see the Hunter low for the Miner, but the Miner doesn't go back that direction. And the log comes through early. Yeah.
Wow, talk about, we love saying Benedict Arnold when we're talking about that Fisherman, but today it was all about that log, just bumping it one tile to the right, misses the bomb tower, and that, from that point on, it was GG.
Yeah, absolutely brutal. What a quick and frustrating swing for Kevin, who could have had the signature moment. Of course, still a great performance. You come out, you get 2 to open up King of the Hill, you get 2 against OP Sam and Javi. Nothing to shake your head at, and the rookie does improve his win rate on the season, raising it from 25% to 36%. So a good outing overall for Kevin, but you know he'd love that log back.
You know, after watching Morten for years, I think one of the most important things to hold on to with his gameplay, I mean, obviously he's S tier plus based off of interactions and his mindset, but he never gives up. I've watched him play in World Championships, I've watched him play on ladder, I've watched him play in tournaments, I've watched his YouTube, and I've watched him just in-game. He never, ever gives up, even if there's a 0% chance of him winning. And right there, that mistake made by Kevin wasn't done by Morten. It was just him not giving up, continuing to play, and then Kevin did it for him. So guys, you can never, ever give up. You got 5 full minutes, you gotta use it.
Unless your teammate quits on you during a 2v2 game. Then go ahead and,
then you can
close the app if you want to. Incoming in now is Pompeo, career win rate in King of the Hill 45%, but on this season only a 2-5, just below 30 for the Balloon Master. Has not been able to get together in head-to-head play despite the excellent 2v2 he's put on with Diego B so far this season.
So Mega Knight cycled in the back. This Fisherman's going to stop it from leaping, at least initially. And another high Goblin Cage.
So Graveyard looking like it for Pompeo.
Morten overspends there, and he's going to have to take some damage.
Yeah, one little E-Wiz shock in, and just like that, Pompeo does have the lead with the first minute 15 about to pass, 21:58 on the right-hand side. For Morten's towers, Pompeo so far has not taken a lick of damage.
Both these these guys just playing real slow and steady, which we're definitely gonna see that until we get into double elixir. No reason to overspend and give your opponent that big of an advantage when you're running these decks.
A nice little double duty done there by the Hunter, taking care of 2 troops. That's the value you gotta love if you're on Pompeo's side.
Oh, for sure, and even the Goblin Cage here sneaking up in front gets a hit in on that E-Wiz, and yeah, really nice here from Pompeo so far.
Has a full health Mega Knight on the board. E-Wiz comes in to try to deal with the Fisherman, and certainly will help here. Mega Knight not gonna go all the way through, I believe, but still a nice E-Wiz, nice idea for Pompeo, but now it's Morten on the counterattack.
Yeah, it did feel like Pompeo maybe overspent just a little there, but, you know, he ends up coming out of it okay.
And Morten now switching lanes. Royal Giant in front of the Baby Dragon.
Yeah, and that Goblin Cage is going to be frustrating. Nice lightning comes in here. Never mind. Big lightning coming in for Morten. Gets some shots in, cleans up some units off the board that would have been spelling a lot of trouble, and now should be back to his Goblin Cage. There it is.
There you go. Excellent control here by the German. Fisherman and Graveyard push. This is a nice little 7 elixir push on the right-hand side. E-Wiz has to come out high for Morten. This is going to force a nice bit of expenditure, although it will be Morten coming out on top from the elixir side of it. It is Pompeo now in the lead as we go into sudden death.
That was a really important graveyard that needed to be successful for Pompeo. The defense that Morten played on the other side of the board was so demoralizing in my mind, and after the damage that came in from that Royal Giant, he got nothing out of it. So Pompeo decides to switch lanes, go hyper-aggressive, and it really evens this game up. Great decision-making there from the Chivas player.
And that lightning was for sure going to happen with all that lightning value on the board. Pompeo responds in kind to clean up these troops with poison. Final 90 seconds approaching, and the Baby Dragon does not get on tower. It's Chivas' Pompeo with the lead and a chance to put SK Gaming away. Threatens Graveyard, does not pull the trigger.
For some reason, I feel like we all saw that coming, Rich. I think with too much coming down the lane on the left-hand side, Pompeo would have to be an idiot to Graveyard in that moment. So that Bar Barrel, I just don't think it's a great play.
And you see Morten there, read it perfectly, did not commit anything, took the Barbarian damage, and now with the lead on the left-hand side, triple elixir on its way here, turning now into triple, and here you go. See Pompeo turning up the Graveyard heat on the right-hand lane.
I like that. I like that play much more. It makes a lot more sense, and it's not... the other one was just so easily readable.
High cage, Fisherman to the right. Does no way to contend with the Fisherman. So well defended there by Pompeo, and we are very tight, 19-19 to, or 9-19 to 986.
Yeah, I love to see it. You know, he really hadn't tried the Fisherman pull all game because there hasn't been a lot of necessity for it. He tries to do it very late in the game. It is successful, but now Morten is ready for it. He knows that Fisherman's out of cycle and he can go aggressive without Royal Giant. Big plays, now just waiting on that lightning.
And there you go. Lightning does come in, and Pompeo just kind of throws his hands up there, very frustrated with that situation. Morten now 2 down, and a chance for the reverse sweep on behalf of SK Gaming.
When you have troops that just get completely annihilated by the lightning spell and you're going up against Royal Giant, it is one of the most frustrating positions to be in Clash Royale because there's no way to adequately defend. Even if you stack all those units up high so that he doesn't get the poison or the lightning damage on tower, there's still going to be units up high that get all cleaned off with lightning that allow that Royal Giant to at least get one shot in. So it basically becomes an impossible way to make an even or positive trade.
Yeah, and you saw Pompeo doing his best to put pressure in the right-hand lane over and over again. Morten did a good job of reading when it would happen, did a good job of defending as cheaply as he could, and, you know, we talk about this sometimes, Andrew, and this is a perfect example of it. This game, HP is a resource, and Morten knew when to spend the HP on that lower right-hand tower to put more pressure on the left-hand side.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that Morten has always been best at. This is something that I really love that we pulled the highlight for, or the replay for, is because this was basically the first true Fisherman battle we had, and Pompeo played it very well, but the problem is that when he played it, or the way that he played it is he played the Fisherman so late, which was smart, that it was so far away, Morten knew when it was going to come back into cycle. So you see the second Fisherman does come down, but Morten's waiting for it. You know, he's ahead of him by a mile, gets his Fisherman down, waiting for it, knows that Royal Giant's going to get a shot, then it's just a lightning to close things out.
Yeah, very, very difficult situation there for Pompeo. Very well played for Morton. And now we go to game number 5, King of the Hill. This is it. It's going to be either a win here for Chivas right now, or we go into 1v1 where SK should have a pretty significant advantage. And Chivas has their number 1 guy in this spot. It's Diego B up against Morton.
Here we go. I am just kicking myself over playing Sam over Morton because Sam's been doing so well in this King of the Hill that Morton hasn't even been needed. But, you know, you can't win them all.
Me too. Hey, look, I put Sam in because he tends to lead off King of the Hill and Morton tends to close it out. Today it turned the other way around, but that's part of why SK Gaming is so good. If the guys on the front end don't get clicking, the guys on the back end can do it. And we'll see right now if Morton can do it against Diego B, who has been the top guy for Chivas Esports, a chance right now to get a season-defining win.
So Diego B sneaks that giant skeleton right in front of the hunter. Gonna try to deal with this barb hut, get it off the board as quickly as possible.
And that's nice for Diego to have the baby dragon of Morton turn towards the giant skeleton instead. Hunter does stay on just long enough to get the baby D off the board.
Now this hunter is getting an insane amount of value.
That's been sort of a theme today for Chivas Esports. A lot of good hunter value in multiple games today.
Yeah, you know, you talk to a lot of pros out there, and the hunter has just kind of always been one of their favorite cards because the mechanics of it are so interesting. It does such high DPS. It's really a high skill cap card because if you waste that 4 elixir, it's so squishy, and it does so much DPS, you might end up needing it. So I love the hunter, and I love that Chivas has really been utilizing it today.
Giant skeleton cleans up a lot of that there at the bridge. The first minute and a half has passed. So far, no damage on either side. A lot of bridge fights so far.
Yeah, and that's going to be the story of at least this matchup here. You can see the giant skeleton on one side of it and Morton on the other, probably running graveyard.
Snowball in high. And again, no one breaking through yet. That's going to be the big question is, when does someone break through? Who takes the first big risk, or more importantly, who makes the first big mistake?
Yeah, so you go, Morton goes, all right, graveyard, I'm going to play this barb hut in the back. Diego B's, okay, I got to switch lanes. Oh, it's actually going to be Balloon here, so Balloon's going to come on through.
Balloon goes to the left-hand side. Freeze
Nice
comes in
freeze.
for Diego. And the E-Wiz not there in time. Huge drop to give Diego B the lead. But how does he contend? Well, it doesn't matter. Giant Skeleton Bomb takes care of business.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful giant skeleton. Really frustrating there for Morton because he knew exactly what was going to happen. He had to over-defend to stop a tower from going down, but all of it was going to walk right into that giant skeleton bomb. Diego B playing this perfectly. And this is match point for Chivas Esports, guys. This is a huge moment.
Absolutely massive, and now Graveyard does come in for Morton with the tank at the bridge. So you see Diego having to spend quite a bit troop-wise to defend against this. 18-14, a lot of that lead now has disappeared based on this push.
And great job by Morton there for doing absolutely zero once all that defense came down. No spell comes in, no extra support at the river, just let it reset and see what happens. Now using his fishermen's against him is Morton.
Poison in high this time on the other fisherman. I couldn't see what it was behind the giant skeleton. And just like that, Morton does take the lead by 6 HP with that damage on the right-hand side.
And he had to overspend. Diego B had to overspend on that left-hand side. So here we go. E-Wiz low, maybe Barb Hut high. There it is. Freeze comes in. That's an over-expenditure there by Diego B.
Yeah, that's an ill-timed freeze. It really is. I wonder if he already had that going in before the Barb Hut came down.
Well, here we go. Barbarians in, tanking for those skeletons on the back end. Morton not going to poison early here because there's not a lot of value. Now with that fisherman down, maybe he does. Barb getting
Decides
tanked
to hold
for.
off, and look at that. The Barbarian and the Skeleton going ham on the right-hand side. Giant Skeleton dies early with 53 seconds left. This has swung towards Morton. Diego B gets aggressive with the balloon push.
Diego B needs to win this for Chivas Esports. They do not want to go to that head-to-head set, and it does not look like he's going to be able to do it. Morton now perfectly in cycle, ahead in Elixir, getting that spell cycle in on the right-hand side, and those non-stop graveyards.
And
That's
there you
game.
go, Baby
Yep.
Dragon in. Yeah, Poison should be right behind. Balloon not going to sneak through. Morton with the reverse sweep for SK Gaming. They will not die easily, and we're going to the 1v1.
A really nice first balloon push in from Diego B. Gets all cleaned up with that giant skeleton bomb, but honestly, I think it's that ill-timed freeze that came late in the game that really sealed the deal there for Diego B. That elixir being spent, getting nothing out of it, allowed Morten to get caught in this wonderful cycle of always having a unit to tank for his graveyard because his opponent, Diego B, had to defend, and then those fishermen just stayed on the board and stayed on his side of the board, so Morten used those against him. Great plays from SK here in King of the Hill.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Here you go. So you see this giant skeleton balloon push. Baby Dragon is high. Mega Minion is high. And this was the first connection.
Yeah.
You see the freeze come in. E-Wiz late. Morten gets caught by it once, but was not caught by it again.
Yeah, all that cleaned up by the giant skeleton. It's the only saving grace there for Morten. And then you see it just becomes this race happening over and over. But the problem is Morten has the way to keep the win condition of Diego B at bay. He's got the Hunter, he's got the he's got the E-Wiz, he's got the Mega Minion, and he's got the Barb Hut. All of those do so much damage, and also the stun. Great responses here from Morten.
Yeah, I really do wonder if Diego B had that going before the Barb Hut down. It does seem like you had to expect the Barb Hut to be coming, but then that freeze is not that free. If you can't get the E-Wiz off the board, you're not going to get the freeze any value. So that I think you made a very good point there, Andrew. That play was the one that sealed the deal for Morten and sent this one essentially to the 1v1.
Yeah, and it was a really smart high Barb Hut from Morten so that not all of that could be locked down in the freeze. So he knew when it was going to come in. He knew where it was most likely going to come in because Morten had been continuing to play his Barb Hut low and in the center. He goes high, offset, GG, well played. We're going to that third and final set now, and you talk about a great day for Chivas. I mean, you even look at the left-hand side of your screen. You see a great 2v2 set. You see a great start in King of the Hill. And then just like that, it has really tipped back in the favor of SK Gaming. You know, Javi's a different beast in 1v1, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely true. And Javi's a different beast in 1v1. And this is the set where Chivas Esports has struggled the most.
Yeah.
They've had good King of the Hill performances. They've had good 2v2. They've had great 2v2. 1v1 has been a dark spot for this squad the entire way through. Adrian's not getting it done. Kevin's not getting it done. If Javi is having an okay day today and the matchups are not terrible, this is a pretty big advantage for SK.
I mean, they haven't won one yet, right? That's just the numbers of it. Chivas Esports has not won one 1v1 set yet, and if they're going to start, it's a really tough start against someone like Javi Catorce. So who comes out? We've seen it go back and forth. The last 3 times it's been Adrian. They started off with Kevin. I think today you have to go back to Kevin. What do you think about that?
Yeah, he had a good start. There weren't really much in the way of mistakes. I like it. I like the idea of going to Kevin. Adrian has been kind of off a little bit, and Kevin seems like he's on the upswing. So put the rookie in. And also at this stage, get the rookie experience. Go ahead, throw Kevin in the 1v1.
Yeah. And I think, get Kevin in that 1v1, get him more experience. And even though it's late in the season for Chivas, even though it's been a struggle in the season for Chivas, maybe try to change up that 2v2 so you can get one of those guys in this set. And it will be Kevin against Javi, the rematch that we saw in King of the Hill.
This will be interesting. Javi Catorce is the overall career sets leader in the 1v1. 16 career wins in the 1v1.
Kevin maybe going back to the well here.
It worked well for him. We'll see how it contends against Lava Hound, and Javi choosing to ignore the damage on the right-hand side, and Balloon comes in behind.
Balloon in behind, gonna have difficulty getting onto that balloon, so he goes high with the E-Wiz, but I'm not sure if it's gonna be enough damage. Hunter spray? Yes, it does.
So first exchange works out tremendously for Kevin. Huge damage in both lanes. Javi in a world of trouble.
Yeah, and Javi goes, I believe, 1 tile too low with that miner. I think if he goes a little bit higher, maybe 2 tiles, he does pull the Hunter as well. Not 100% there, but yeah, Kevin off to a great start.
That's one of the hard things about going lava to open, right? Is you try to think of, is this a tower trade situation? Let me go ahead and let that damage on the right-hand side, but Kevin just had all the tools in all the right order to contend with that push on the left.
Wondering if Kevin going into the same lane as his weaker tower is actually the correct decision. This high E-Wiz is going to be really nice, but going to need something to clean up those skeleton dragons. The only reason I say that is because if he doesn't, he's able to go to the opposite lane, and his opponent isn't able to pile up things behind.
So a ton of damage comes in because of the fireball, but also the Inferno Dragon stays on, shocking that Royal Giant because of the fireball. So interesting little situation there, and Javi's going to have to sack this tower and hope he can figure out some way to regroup and come back.
Yeah, really, really nice exchange there at the bridge for Kevin. The fact that Ewiz stayed alive, was able to get that Inferno Dragon off the board. Really, really well played by him. And now Javi going to have to figure out how he's going to make this Lava Hound push work into a lane with a weak tower against a basically untouched tower of his opponent.
Yeah, this is going to be really, really brutal. Kevin, you see him nodding, liking the sequence here, knows he can E-Wiz. And look at this Barb Barrel, turns it around perfectly, and that's going to be Fireball coming in. Of course, the Barbs go on the right-hand side. Doesn't matter. That right-hand tower in a world of hurt.
Yeah, 628 remaining, and with no building in the hand of Javi, you know, we're probably going to see some Royal Giants in the pocket if Kevin even has to get aggressive again, but he's not going to have to. This tower is going to get defended well, and that's going to be game.
Yeah, Javi calling a good game. Miner not able to get in there on the Hunter and get things done early enough. And this deck does not put up the pressure high. And you saw what Javi was going for there. He put the Fireball bait to the inside, threw the Barb to the outside, but too much damage. And you see trying to predict the Barbs in the right hand, or in the middle there is Kevin. Doesn't matter, it's tower down. And now Kevin, for the second time today, has match point against SK Gaming.
I like that too. It's a really small thing, but it just shows that Kevin's kind of dialed. He's in the zone. He knows that the Fireball on top of the Barbs is going to ensure that tower down, instead of the Fireball on top of the tower, hoping to just get a little bit more damage in and assist the Royal Giant. So Kevin, looking to get a little bit more crowns, knew he had the game in the bag, and he played it really, really well. I don't know if I love seeing the Lava Loon Miner from Javi, but the problem is, I mean, the thing about it is, not even the problem, is that Javi's good with every deck out there, every archetype out there. So if he wins this, you know, I'm obviously not saying anything. I just don't really love that he played it. That's all.
Yeah, it's a weird choice against a player who has been prone to mistakes, right? Kevin has made a lot of errors, and you almost feel like maybe going with a deck that forces more errors out rather than one that lets him take time to make decisions.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Javi needs to go with something faster here in this second game, just because not only does it cater to his playstyle more because he is so good at the game, but like you said, it's taking an advantage of a rookie. Let's give him something that's a little bit less response time, a little bit more high interaction.
Man, this opening push perfectly defended by Kevin, and then because of that perfect defense, able to put a whole lot more pressure on, and you can see the damage difference, and out of all that, still comes out ahead to Elixir.
Yeah, that was a really weird miner, Rich. He could have played it a couple tiles higher. The Hunter wasn't offset to the left. It would have distracted both lanes. Just a little bit of a small mental mistake there from Javi, and then you see this push really, really works out for Kevin. The high skeleton dragons on top of the E-Wiz. Fireball comes in, Inferno Dragon gets reset, and just nothing but trouble.
Well, one of the difficult things here for Javi, Andrew, is, you know, you don't really have any great way to deal with the Electro Wizard and the Hunter, because your way of dealing with both of those is the same thing. It's the miner plus a spell.
Yep.
So no matter what's going on, that miner sort of split in focus, and Kevin did a good job of spreading those out, of staggering the way they dropped, and making it so that Javi never had a good or easy decision for that minor spell play.
So right now, if I'm SK Gaming and I look at what's kind of happened over these last few head-to-head games, is I think, okay, what do we want Javi to play? And then let's go to the next deck. Because for some reason, the matchups just haven't been working. Maybe they just have their number today. I think they need to maybe continue down the same path they've been doing, but then just make a hard left turn. So not giving Kevin another favorable matchup is imperative here, because we both know that Javi can outplay him. But unfortunately, for SK Gaming, they just haven't had the matchups today. And great job by Chivas.
Yeah, it's been very good for Chivas. Props to Jose VTS over there, whoever he and his team have been working together to come up with the deck choices today. They've been on it. And now Kevin with 2 chances to put away SK Gaming. If they win here, this is a big boost to morale. You know, we'll have to talk about some questions about what's going on with SK with 2 in a row potential losses to the bottom of the standings at the moment. But if they lose here, this is one of those ones that really is going to hurt for Chivas Esports. Let's see if Kevin can be the big hero today for his squad.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you start talking about SK Gaming losing 2 matches in a row to bottom tier teams and what that does to the standings, what that does to their clinching playoffs. SK wants to win. Losing to Misfits last time, it felt like a fluke. Losing 2 in a row to Misfits and Chivas starts to feel a little shaky if I'm SK Gaming.
Yeah, it certainly up with some questions. We do have at least one more game, possibly 2, to decide whether that's actually the discussion. But I think, Andrew, that even if SK is able to escape this one with a win, I think there are still a lot of questions this team has to answer.
Yeah, agreed. A lot of questions that they have to answer that are coming in a really inopportune part of the season, considering how strong they started out. Great
I was going to say,
fireball.
Andrew, I like the idea of Javi going RG with Lightning in this matchup, and the only issue was that Kevin had run some of that minor wall breakers before. It looks like he's going in that direction, and I really like that call from SK.
Yeah, so here we go. Javi goes on offense first. Kevin responds opposite lane. Royal Giant coming on through. Nice late Goblin Cage up high.
Fisherman will pull the Brawler away, so this RG going to do some significant damage on the left-hand side. Ewiz to slow it down, but that will be the lead with Kevin as we go past the first 90 seconds.
Yep, and this Royal Giant is a great response. Not only is he going to clean off the Ewiz, he's going to go back invisible, and now it demands another response out of his opponent, keeping Javi playing from behind.
Great heal spirit there out of Javi Catorce. Does double duty, picking up the heal spirit, keeping his Fisherman on the board. And now with 15 seconds left before double elixir time, we'll give him a couple of slaps on that left-hand side.
Just a really beautiful small interaction. It's just stuff like that that really separates players, the pros from the regulars. And it's just so simple, it's so small, but it's the fact that he does things like that so consistently.
Royal Giant set up to the left-hand side, Cage in response, and you can see that even with the Cage down, Javi a bit behind on elixir in this one.
Yeah, and Javi doing the right thing here by cycling these cards in the back. Now he's got 3 cards down, 4 cards down. He's back to Goblin Cage. So that's going to pop maybe another Goblin Cage. No, not going to need it. Enough DPS in, but he does have the Goblin Cage ready in case Kevin wants to go back on offense. There it is.
And look, yeah, he cages one more time, and that Fisherman does get the pull off on the Ewiz, so good for Javi here. Final 30 seconds of regulation time, and this will turn into a battle on the left-hand side, but do keep an eye on that right-hand tower, 1772. That could come big into play late in this game.
I really like the RG in the back here from Javi, feeling the elixir advantage lean his way. He's got these guys going on offense that's going to demand a response out of Kevin. He should have a slight advantage going into this exchange at the bridge, and if Kevin overspends on the left, he can go back to the right-hand side.
So it's Fireball, not Lightning, out of Javi. Still gets some good value, and you were wondering if that Lightning would have been a big difference. Not going to be the case here. And 2 Fishermen's down. Heal Spirit maybe a half step early in that one.
Yeah, that Fireball, though, just hit everything that Javi had on the board. A great Fireball from Kevin that honestly is kind of a bit of a lifesaver for him.
Dual lane pressure right now for Javi Catorce. Kevin is currently stuck playing in the left-hand lane. Javi happy to make that the battle they're having despite being behind. The one wrinkle here, Andrew, is that while Kevin does have the ability to pressure with that Royal Ghost, Javi doesn't really have a great way to put just a little bit of extra pressure onto that right-hand tower.
And look at that, a beautiful Fisherman in response from Kevin. No cage there, late cage from Javi Catorce. That is going to do it.
Huge damage, 502 on the left. Fireball has to come in high for Kevin. Cage on the board, and now a little bit of an elixir advantage potentially for Javi as we go into triple.
Yeah, big time pull from that Fisherman there. Hunter up high. Fisherman looking to pull the right-hand side. Javi does get... Oh my goodness, I can't even think right now. The Fisherman's pulled in from Kevin.
Wow, Javi battles from behind, takes the win, and we're going to game number 3.
Oh my goodness, we need to see that last sequence again in the replay. My brain stopped working because it felt like Kevin should have locked that down, but Javi somehow able to get back on offense, able to stay on offense. Just unbelievable, and he even played that cage late up high. Wow.
When we see this replay, my guess here is we're going to see a little horse to the barn syndrome out of Kevin. Maybe going a little bit too aggressive there at the end, feeling like he saw the light at the end of the tunnel, overspending. So let's go ahead and jump into the replay as we see these final sequences. And this is going to be a little bit earlier here. This is with 90 seconds left, and you can see Kevin getting some good value early, and this was that brilliant heal spirit out of Javi, just perfectly placed, timed, and played.
And that was the first damage that we got in from Javi. And, you know, what happened was this exchange, I believe it's the exchange after this one, the next Royal Giant push in from Kevin. This time he does the correct thing. You see how many units are on the board, how much he's dropping down to defend the Royal Giant coming across from Javi. Damage in, does a great job, has the E-Wiz there in response. Royal Giant, though, does get a couple shots from that, and then right here, this Fireball feels like a great job to kind of keep things at bay, but then the Elixir advantage starts swinging towards his opponent.
Yeah, and that Elixir advantage difference was absolutely huge, and you can see the Hunter played high and the Fisherman played to the middle, so the Fisherman pulls the Royal Giant away from the Hunter as the Hunter gets pulled in to the opposite side, so just Kevin kind of lost control of the situation. Yep. And Javi's not going to do that in this moment, and now we come all the way. This has been a crazy one, Andrew. We went the full 3 games in 2v2, the full 5 in King of the Hill, and now we go to a BO1 to decide it all. Kevin versus Javi 14, and either SK Gaming retakes control of first place, or they fall behind Team Queso and open up the door for both Tribe and Spacestation.
So what I was trying to articulate in those final moments, but I was definitely overwhelmed to say the least, was that, you know, Javi started piling all those units up on the left-hand side of the board, and then Kevin started to support his push on the left-hand side, but then dropped his Royal Giant up front. And we can hop into the game here as I finish this thought. Dropping that Royal Giant up front to get a little bit more damage in means that there is that much less Elixir on the back end to deal with Javi's push. So that push didn't take the tower for Javi, but the next one became overwhelming for Kevin.
Kevin going back to Hog triple spell in this one. We'll see what Javi's got in store for this fight. Wonder if Kevin's going with the Fireball version or the EQ version. Played the EQ version earlier. Skeletons come in to pick up the Bandit. Yeah, and Javi going to run that deck that Kevin ran against him before, this very popular deck. And, you know, it's going to be interesting because Kevin doesn't have, Kevin's got a nice fast cycle, but he doesn't have a great opportunity to use the Earthquake. That being said, Javi also can create tons of pressure in the other lane for very cheap. Bomb Tower going to be a difficult thing to keep off the board. Yeah, Bomb Tower is going to be interesting. I'm curious what Javi's plan is for defending against the Hog Riders, though. You saw him, in this case, go with high pressure and the E-Wiz behind, but it feels like this is a situation where the Hog Rider will almost always get one shot unless you really overspend on defense. 100%, and you have to basically do it perfectly, right? Maybe a high E-Wiz with a Bandit low, so the Bandit charges into that Hog Rider with 2 stuns from the E-Wiz, the help of the Princess Tower. That should do it, but that was a lot of things that I just said had to go perfectly. And does the cannon cart go down early enough? Great play from Javi here. The cannon cart gets on tower. The E-Wiz comes down to stun and force the Hog back the other direction. If Javi wins, that's the reason why. And it's surprising that Kevin even tries, or Kevin even allows that to be an option, right? Because that's one of those worst case scenarios, right, Rich? This is a worst case scenario. If this cannon cart crosses the river and my Hog Rider turns around, and then he's able to get a positive Elixir trade and a connection, that's a worst case scenario. Why even put yourself in that position? And you know, earlier before, it seemed like maybe Javi had put the Heal Spirit down early, and the Log was easily able to take care of it. Instead, it turns out on the back end, it worked out great for him. This time, the Heal Spirit does not keep the cannon cart going, but you can see the spam started to happen here at the bridge for Javi. Yeah, and you know, the spam starts because Kevin plays that Bomb Tower up high in response to the Magic Archer, which is not the way you want to go. You want to play the Bomb Tower and then bait the Magic Archer out of your opponent. If you do what he did there, you saw how easy it was to get the Magic Archer off the board, even though the Bomb Tower, and now the Bomb Tower is out of cycle. So just not great decision making from Kevin right now, but that's the beauty of this deck that Javi's running. And look at this Magic Archer going to pressure the left-hand lane a little bit behind the Bandit. And now there's just so much on the board for Kevin to try to deal with. Magic Archer now doing double duty, working on a second Bomb Tower in the row. Going to get one shot on the left-hand side. Dual lane pressure right now for Javi. Kevin in a lot of trouble. And this is the exact credit to what you said at the top of this match, or the top of this 1v1 set. Javi needs to play decks that make Kevin make mistakes, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. Cannon Cart not going to get into phase 2 across the bridge. Instead dies right at the bridge. But now this is what Javi's game plan is. Keep Cannon Carts on the board that you have to deal with that then die and help with that Hog Rider. So working out very well right now for Javi Catorce as we go into the final 90.
Exactly, that you have to deal with, and then it becomes another problem for your Hog Rider. Really, really well put there. And as you can see, that's exactly what's happening. Kevin cannot go back on offense.
Knight trapped between now. We'll go cycle to the left-hand side. EQ cycle on the right-hand tower of Javi from Kevin. We get in the triple elixir, of course. This triple spell deck can put so much damage in so quickly.
Cannon
and
connected.
Another Cannon Cart connects. Log can't stop it. Javi Catorce takes it in the 1v1 and secures the win for SK Gaming.
And you talk about a come-from-behind win. It says it all on the left-hand side of your screen. It was all Chivas to start the day. Then Morton goes 1, 2, 3 in King of the Hill, and then you run into that bad man right there, Javi Catorce, in that 1v1 set. You know, he started off heavy, going to the skies. It felt a little uncharacteristic for him, so what does he do? He goes back to what's tried and true. Let's overwhelm your opponent. Let's see if you can keep up with me in terms of interactions, and almost no one in the game can do that when it comes to Javi Catorce.
You know, Andrew, I want to talk about that left-hand side of the screen here in a moment. First, let's take a look at this huge sequence. When that Heal Spirit came out, it felt like that was poor timing out of Javi Catorce, but he turns lemons into lemonade and gets that Hog Rider to go back the opposite direction, turns into a huge, huge, huge swing for Javi Catorce. But what I want to talk about right now is what you see on the left-hand side of the screen. This is why SK Gaming is championship material. Look at sets 2 and sets 3. Yep. Double reverse sweep for the overall match reverse sweep. Playing through adversity, staying calm in the face of elimination games. That is why SK Gaming is as good as they are.
Yeah, you know, that was just magnificently put, because that's exactly what they have showcased so many times. Javi Catorce, Morton, OP Sam, Sergio Ramos, they've all done it. That's why SK is 6-1 now, and a really great performance from Chivas Esports. If I'm Chivas's owner, if I'm their coach, if I'm their manager, I look at what they did this season and I figure out the one missing piece and I fix it for a very, very strong next season. They have so many great moments. They have such great talent on their squad, but you have to have at least 3 guys that you can count on in any given situation. And it doesn't feel like they have that third guy quite locked in right now, and they definitely don't have the fourth.
Yeah, it's a hard question. I think that you have the 2v2. You have Pompeo and Diego. And you have Diego who can pull double duty, and Pompeo should be able to. Hasn't done it so far. If I'm Chivas Esports, I'm opening up the purse strings. I'm going out for some big free agent signings in the offseason and finding some way to shore up that head-to-head gameplay. So far, it has not been put together. We talk about that 1v1 set, Andrew. On the season right now, Chivas Esports 0-5 in the third and final set. Yeah. You cannot have a team that does that.
No, there's no way around it. There's no excusing it. It needs to be fixed, and it's too late to fix it now here in 2020. So that match, a lot closer than we thought it was going to be. Misfits Gaming going up against Cream Royale Betis for your second matchup of the day. Maybe going to be a little bit closer. Stick around. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Welcome back, everybody. We just saw SK Gaming narrowly avoid the upset and continue to hold on to that #1 spot. And now we go on to another team that wants to hold on. It's the 6th place Cream Royale Betis 3-3, knowing they have Pain Gaming nipping at their heels up against Misfits, who are coming off the single biggest upset of the season against SK Gaming.
Now, I wasn't just trying to be contrarian when we were doing our predictions at the top of the show. I truly do believe that Misfits do have the gumption to get that W. They just haven't really been able to put it together this season. What we saw in their last matchup, though, was pretty impressive, and I feel like if there's any day for Misfits to come out to play, it's right now. They're not eliminated yet. They're coming off of a big win over a great squad. Why not turn everything around today?
Look, you have two teams that are in the 5 and 6 spot that both have 3 losses. They are both 3-3. That means you have two teams that could also end up with losing records. Taking a win off of one of those teams where you could end up in a tiebreaker situation, no joke here, and Misfits has to be feeling good after taking out the #1 team in the league last week.
Yeah, I mean, Misfits, I think the most surprising thing for us was how well they played in that 2v2 set. It felt like it had finally clicked. This idea that they'd put together had finally worked out, and who better to do it against than Sam and Morton? The only problem is once they get into that head-to-head play, it felt to fall off just a little bit. Let's take a look at this matchup before we hop into the second match of the day between Misfits and CRB.
Misfits contra Cream Royale Betis. A Misfits vem de uma vitória do primeiro colocado SK Gaming. Será que é a recuperação à volta da Misfits?
Bom, a Cream vem tentando brigar para poder manter-se na zona de classificação. Um jogo pegado, mas acho que aqui deve dar Cream Royale Betis.
Misfits en contra de Cream, no me la creo. Esto, mira, se está poniendo demasiado bueno. Misfits, que nadie esperaba mucho por ellos, le quita el invicto SK. Cream, que está ahí medio golpeado, si vuelve a perder, se puede poner en una situación complicadísima para los cremeros. Así que veamos este gran partido de inmediato.
Can they win this one? Yes. Do they have nothing to lose? Probably. So this is going to be more compelling, more competitive than we might have expected. Misfits coming off the biggest win for their season. Cream Royale Betis with a lot on the line today, coming off their loss against Spacestation Gaming. And they have a team that maybe, Andrew, finally has an identity in Misfits.
Air Surfer, Wings, Bob the Rock, and Schwarzen. You said they struggled a little bit in that King of the Hill set, but then Schwarzen came and closed things out in that 1v1 against Javi 14. Maybe we'll see him in the final set if necessary once again today for Misfits.
Yeah, it feels like he probably is the 1v1 guy. On the side for Cream Royale Betis, their 2v2 has been pretty solid. Michifu and Diego E so far 4-2 on the season, although those two losses against more of the high-level teams. We'll see what they do against Misfits. The shining star this season, though, has been Belican, and if they are going to win today, they're going to need the British Barber to come out swinging.
150%. You talk about their 1v1 set. They missed it in their first matchup, taking down Team Liquid, but then following that, Pedro picked up 1 game and lost 4 against Bale and Ruben. Since then, Belican has moved into that 1v1 slot and has been dominant. He 2-0'd Jupiter King and Lucas, and he's been very, very strong in King of the Hill with his partner of 2v2, Michifu. So a lot of great things, with their 2v2 player, Michifu. A lot of great changes here for Cream after that little bit of a stumble to start their season.
Yeah, St. Belican currently 5th overall, or tied for 4th in win rates on the season at just under 70%. But you don't start in the head-to-head play, you start in the 2v2. Let's go ahead and jump on into the action. Air Surfer and Wings against Diego E and Michifu.
No surprise here for either squad. Tornado Band on both sides of the board, and I'm going to start this off with just a little bit of cycle here for Misfits.
Yeah, we'll see if they can continue the success that we saw last weekend. So far, Air Surfer and Wings on the lower end of the win rates, 1-3 in sets, 5-7 in games. On the other side, Diego E and Michifu, 4-2 in sets and 9-7 in games.
Yeah, what I think is fascinating about what you say in 5 and 7 in games, Rich, is when you hear those numbers, you have to think to yourself, well, how have they been so unsuccessful in sets then? Well, they've picked up a game every single time. That's the other problem, is they've always picked up one game win in that 2v2 set. They've just only been able to pick up that second one once.
Heal Spirit keeps the Battle Healer alive, although this will all get stuck there by the Giant Skeleton, so Battle Healer will go down on the left-hand side, and a 1 HP E-Wizard should be taken care of by the Princess Tower. There you go with Cream Royale Betis now setting up Giant Skeleton in the opposite lane to meet the Baby Dragon.
So Musketeer going to walk across that bridge, left-hand side. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, despite the struggles they've had in 2v2, this is Air Surfer's best season in the opening set. Put up a 47% win rate for TSM back in the North American region. 0 wins in the spring for 2v2, and then, of course, this season now at a 42% win rate. So starting to improve a little bit. Wings, on the other hand, has been pretty much a lifetime 50-50 win rate guy in the 2v2 set. This one, season turning to be a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, for some reason it just feels a little bit like those guys are just not quite in the position they want to be in. 2v2, for as long as they've been playing, it just doesn't seem to be giving them the success that they need, and that's something that I'm sure Misfits would have liked to change up, but not really able to with their roster.
Royal Giant in on the left-hand side, knocked back a bit by the log.
Skeletons plus Battle Healer low to clean up that graveyard, and the Goblin Cage up high can allow that Royal Giant just to get one shot in. Pretty good defense here from Misfits.
More pressure on the left-hand side. Graveyard in.
Yeah, that's a tough one right there. You see him pile it on at the river. Knight actually gets pulled on through by the Fisherman, so he will survive that Giant Skeleton bomb.
Baby Dragon does sneak on by it too, so oh no, not quite. Baby Dragon does go down. Here we go, final 5 seconds of regulation. It is Cream Royale Betis with a slight lead in this graveyard fight.
Barb Barrel does pull that Giant Skeleton just far enough away. Skeletons now. Lightning comes in, a great Lightning.
Yeah, huge value on that Lightning, and this Royal Giant will get a couple of shots on tower. Getting DPS down only ends up being 1, so a good save there, but Misfits in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, Misfits is really, really having a difficult time trying to figure out how to get a tank across the river, but this time it was a lot easier. 2 graveyards in, I believe, and the freeze.
And Ewiz Snowball able to clean it up, not going to turn the way that maybe Misfits had hoped, and now a bit of a counter push coming in for Cream Royale Betis.
Yeah, maybe not as behind the Elixir as I thought they would have been after dropping all that down, but okay here. Sitting here, winning this bridge battle, going to be difficult.
Final minute 10 on its way. Royal Giant behind the Giant Skeleton.
Goblin Cage, there it is.
Yeah. And Cream holding off on a Lightning in this case. Just knowing they have the damage lead. There's a minute left in gameplay. Don't overextend. That Musketeer, though, has been on the board for a long time for Misfits, and now pressure in the opposite lane.
Late log comes in from Misfits, allows that Royal Giant to get another shot in, and as you said, this swerve here to the right-hand side, Battle Healer up front, freeze in, Skeletons piling up, but it's just not going to be enough.
This is a very well-managed game by Cream Royale Betis, Andrew. They've done a very, very good job of not making any mistakes in terms of the defense, not overspending, and you saw that Musketeer on for a long time. Giant Skeleton plays clean up on the left-hand side, lets them play great defense on the right.
Yeah, and you know, the Royal Giants have come in at perfectly opportune times. The Giant Skeletons have been played in the most inopportune places for Misfits to be able to create any sort of push in the lane that they'd like. And now you see piling it on at the river, going to defend on the right-hand side and just win out here pretty easily for Diego and Michifu.
Yeah, Freeze trying to do it, but not going to get it done. Diego E and Michifu with a clean win here in game number 1.
Yeah, you know, the one thing that I'm looking at with this deck for Misfits is that if their opponent had that Giant Skeleton, it almost felt like it was impossible for them to break through. And their opponent did have that Giant Skeleton. So what is it in this deck creation that needs to maybe change a little bit, or in their gameplay, to where they actually are going to be able to create any sort of threat? Because for Diego E and Michifu, that was a really easy game of just putting a Giant Skeleton down at the bridge and then dealing with what came afterwards.
Well, part of it was that the Giant, that they had this great tool behind it in the Lightning that made things so hard for Air Surfer and Wings to really make any choices because they knew so many of their troops were going to be an insta-kill from that lightning. So you have two ways to contend with all the support on the side of Air Surfer and Wings, and it just made it so that they were going to lose the fight at the river almost every time.
Yeah, and then, you know, if you look at Diego E and Michifu, I mean, it's just as simple as looking at something like, okay, we have a Royal Giant and a Graveyard as win conditions. We have Lightning to support that, and there's a Fisherman to help with that Royal Giant. When you look at the other side of it, it just felt like it was like, all right, we got to win this bridge battle and then get a Graveyard down. That's how we win this game. And that's a pretty easy thing to stop in 2v2 if you have the right responses, especially if you have a giant skeleton. I want to maybe see a double win condition coming out of Misfits. Maybe it's double bait, maybe it's Graveyard Freeze, whatever, or Graveyard Freeze Loon, whatever it is. I just don't like the one condition piled down at the river and just have to break on through in order to win.
Yeah, and the freeze, again, not able to do much for them on the offensive side, so Misfits has to regroup for game number 2. Cream Royale Betis, after some stumbles in 2v2, they did look very, very good today. They were on the same page. It seemed like every single defensive and offensive sequence, they were completely dialed in.
Yeah, and they were okay taking damage here and there, knowing that they were still firmly in the lead. You know, you saw them kind of lightly defend on that right-hand side later on, take a good amount of damage, but that's because they know that if for some reason their opponent decides to switch lanes, go hyper aggressive, they're always going to have enough elixir in hand to respond. So like you said, very well managed by Cream Royale Betis. And again, this is why we've been talking about these guys in the 2v2 set as much as we have this season. They've been really, really good. They just haven't quite been S tier.
Yeah, and that'll be an interesting thing that we see from them when we go into the playoffs, that best of 5 set. If Cream can maintain their position, how does the 2v2 fare when they are only against top-tier teams?
Yes, and you know, for me, it really does feel like a squad that struggles a little bit more in head-to-head play in comparison to those other top-tier teams. 2v2 does become a must-win necessity set for Cream moving into our BO5s. And this is exactly what I talked about, Rich, right?
Go ahead.
Just the switching to the double bait, because it just feels like it's a better way for Air Surfer and Wings to control the game.
Good log on the left-hand side. Dart Goblin low. Valkyrie comes out, so it's going to be some double bait on both sides. Barrel comes in low, and you see that's a great little sequence there, Andrew. The barrel, the skeleton barrel tanking for the goblins in reverse, getting some good damage on tower. King Tower activation comes in at this stage, which could have an effect, but it seems like Cream has done what they wanted early on.
Yeah, agreed. You get that much damage early on in basically a double bait matchup or mirror matchup, and you're already playing so far from behind. You got to play in opposite lanes. Not the way Air Surfer and Wings wanted to start this game, but still a lot of time.
Skeleton barrel into the left-hand side. Mega Knight comes down in response, and that's a lot of expenditure, but now a potential counter push coming in for Misfits.
Yeah, so Mega Knight's going to come in supported with this Dark Goblin. We don't see a building out of Diego E and Michifu, and it's because they've got the giant skeleton once again.
And, you know, we talk about this management, Andrew. The communication so far, knowing exactly who was going to take care of what. You saw the log on the left-hand side, the snowball on the right-hand side. Michi and Diego E are very much on the same page.
Yeah, and you know, they had to overspend with the fireball there because their other responses weren't in cycle, but you know what? They were still in a great spot elixir-wise. So yes, Michi and Diego E playing this basically perfect.
Skeletons do get some good damage, though, for Air Surfer and Wings on the right-hand side. 16:04 remaining with 30 seconds left in regulation time, or 35 in regulation time. Misfits is doing the right thing and keeping pressure on the right-hand side.
Valkyrie plus Dark Goblin going to come down in response. 7 elixir out.
And the timing there, just a half step late.
Yep, and you know what? Misfits, Air Surfer, and Wings didn't see it coming, so they drop that double down. They go Fireball plus Snowball in because they're worried about those units tanking for that Musketeer.
Dark Goblin does put things a little bit closer, but pressure in on the left-hand side from Diego E and Michifu. Poison comes down to help as well. Valkyrie will be perfectly positioned against the Skeleton Barrel. They decide to log on top of the Valkyrie on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I don't know if they needed to do that, Rich. 2 elixir that they could have used for another one of these spells coming in, like these goblins that just got thrown in. So that's where the mistakes immediately start to punish them. Valkyrie on the right-hand side for Diego E and Michifu going to town on that tower.
Double push on the left-hand side, Musketeer going high, and now you see the poison in to help out a little bit. Snowball comes down. Air Surfer and Wings just not as efficient spell usage as we're seeing out of Diego E and Michifu, barring that one log.
And you saw right there another double drop. You got the Dark Goblin and the Musketeer, but a missed Fireball for Diego and Michifu. Rich,
Well,
that's it!
Wow, wow!
You
The
missed...
Fireball I thought was trying to get the Skeleton Barrel high, but oh no.
You miss one spell. There's so much more value on the board there for them. If that Fireball's played just a little bit higher, all of a sudden, all of their spell responses are out of cycle, and just like that, Air Surfer and Wings just scream back into this.
Yeah, unbelievable. Unbelievable play, and now we're going to a game number 3. You know, we were talking about how well the management was going from Diego E and Michifu, but check this out, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, that right there was the sequence where the Goblin Barrel came in because they missed the log earlier, or they mismanaged that log earlier. You see a double drop here from Air Surfer and Wings, and you start to get a little bit nervous. Dark Goblin goes to the right-hand side, cleanup on the left, kind of par for the course. But here we go. Barrel back in, log is back in cycle. But if that is in cycle, that means another spell is not in cycle. So what do? They go all in. Fireball misses a couple bats. Don't have anything to get those goblins. Goblins tank for the barrel. GG, well played. You got double baited, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what they were going for was popping that Skeleton Barrel high and getting some bats. But because there was stuff already on the tower, It ended up backfiring, and maybe they would have been better off saving the Fireball for late.
Exactly, and that all comes back to that first missed log. If they don't use that first missed log, or they have it in cycle, you clean up the goblins with the log, that Fireball hits the barrel, and it's easy cleanup with one additional troop. Unfortunately for them, and that's exactly why I love the double bait, is one missed spell starts a cascading effect, a series of events that usually ends up pretty unfortunate for the person that missed just one spell, 2 elixir or 4, sometimes 3.
So here's the question, Andrew, is can Misfits break the mold of continuously winning one, but not being able to close out these BO3s? They've done it once so far in 2v2. The question is, do they do it again here against Cream Real Betis?
Yeah, you know, if history repeats itself, you'd probably say no. The one issue I have with that win from Misfits is it was literally one mistake that Cream made. Just that one small mistake left a big enough opening late enough in the game. So as we hop into game number 3, yes, Misfits had a great performance there in the second game, but they really did feel like they were behind for the entirety of those few minutes.
So here we go, jumping into our third and final game. Diego E and Michifu top of your screen, Air Surfer and Wings at the bottom. The only band, to remind you, is Tornado. These are double blind bands, meaning the teams submit them before the match, not knowing their opponent's band, which is why you ended up with the same thing on both sides. Looking like Balloon or maybe Hog Rider out of Misfits.
Yeah, we could be seeing that old combination. Balloon has been much more popular this season in 2v2.
A little chop from the Lumberjack, 23-34 on the left-hand side. First minute of gameplay has passed. Just a little log cycle at 10 there was Diego E.
And just real slow and steady winning the race right now.
Well, you see that log cycle from Diego, and you know you're at 10. You think, hey, why not cycle a small spell? Well, now that they know they're not against double bait, happy to go ahead and put that one out.
Fire goes to the back of the tower, untouched for now. Fisherman will pull it away and mitigate more of that damage.
This is a good setup for Misfits on this left-hand side.
Yeah, Misfits looking for Diego E and Michifu to overspend on this defense. Maybe then this Lumberjack goes down and able to go on offense, but Megaman squeaks on by.
2 chops, maybe 3, and there you go. 3 do get in, 1640 left-hand side. So Cream Real Betis chooses not to overspend, but end up paying for it anyway.
Fireball log going to come in, cleans that Musketeer off the board. Lumberjack does go down, which is exactly what Diego E and Michifu want for this balloon here. Pretty healthy balloon.
Yeah, but there's no way to deal with the Ewas with the miner going to the back. The Electro Wizard easily shuts down the rest of that push. So now we go final 35 seconds, and you still have the lead right now for Air Surfer and Wings.
Yeah, that's what they need to do every single time, is make sure to get that Ewas in one spot, Archers in the other, Goblin Cage up high. Easy cleanup when you got 3 layers of defense against that balloon.
Fireball does get a bit of value against the Brawler and the Fisherman. The Fisherman does put that Giant Skeleton in deep, but Lumberjack can clean it up, and I don't think that bomb's going to do just about anything. So a good push coming in right now for Cream Royale Betis.
And there it is. Archers in the back, Ewas up high. Ewas too high, though. Musketeer able to get their log, cleans it off the board. A great heal spirit, and this balloon should get a drop.
Boom! Balloon does connect, and that's going to be a left-hand tower in a lot of trouble. 395. Good lightning from Misfits, though, gets tower damage, Giant Skeleton, and the Musketeer off the board. Do they have enough for this defense?
I feel like the answer to that is no, Rich. We're going to find out here in just a second. High Goblin Cage going to come in. Yes, it does. The freeze, though, maybe a bit of an overspend, knowing that their opponents have Mega Minion.
Yeah, that's an early freeze there, Andrew. A very early freeze. Doesn't matter. It still gets in. I want to go back and re-watch that. I did not think that balloon was going to get close enough for that death damage.
Yeah, Mega Minion comes in to help clean it off the board, I believe, but just not in time. Maybe should have been played just a second earlier to get another swing in. Death damage comes in, coupled with that miner. Air Surfer and Wings kind of back to what we expect. A game win, but a set loss for Misfits in that 2v2.
Yeah, just the story of the season for these guys, and it's been certainly difficult for them, top to bottom, and very, very frustrating. And now they're going to go into a King of the Hill, where this is a very talented King of the Hill team against a very talented King of the Hill team.
Yeah, so, you know, Wings, we finally are starting to see the Wings of old here in King of the Hill. Air Surfer, he's been back and forth all season. You know, we saw him go out in one game. We've seen him get a King of the Hill sweep. It's really going to be about, for me, it's about Schwarzen. What is Schwarzen going to do today for Misfits?
That's the big question. So here we go, taking a look at some of the action from this 2v2. Fireball gets some value there, but look at what happens on the back end of it. They spend the Fireball, and then there's just too much coming the opposite direction, forces them to do a lot in reply.
Yeah, Barbarrel goes in to try to clean up that Musketeer off the board, but doesn't actually work out. The Heal Spirit comes in to heal that balloon, but guess what? That Musketeer is still in the back, pulls the Brawler away, gets a little bit more damage in. More Elixir has to be spent by Misfits where they don't want to, and that is the reason why that balloon drop comes in. The Lightning also, it feels like after everything that just happened, getting that Lightning in is asking for too much. You can't have your cake and eat it too. If you're going to take that much damage in and go on a counter push, you can't also spend all your Elixir on spells. You got to remember that your opponent's going to go right back on offense again. You got to play defense. So even though it started real bad, I believe that Lightning kind of sealed it for Misfits.
Yeah, it was. You saw that balloon. The first big balloon one came in like Plinko, just hit the baby dragon and bounced one way. Then the Mega Minion went the other way, and then just barely got in on the connection. And that second balloon there, it really feels like that second balloon should not have gotten in death damage range. But
yeah,
you know, it gets right there and somehow gets that tower down. And now Misfits in a familiar spot, entering King of the Hill with a set disadvantage.
Yeah, so I'm assuming for Misfits, we'll see Wings, Air Surfer, and Schwarzen. That is what they have been going with. We haven't seen a lot of Bob the Rock over the last few matches. Their opponents, Michifu, Belican, maybe Pedro. Pedro's been playing very, very, you know, kind of inconsistent. But Michi and Belly doing great.
Yeah, and you know the big question is, does Wings get it going in King of the Hill? Wings was phenomenal last season in King of the Hill, 7-0 with 2 sweeps, 1 in the regular season, 1 in playoffs. If Wings can get going in King of the Hill and the rest of the team can get moving, it does feel like they have a chance to get back in it. And Schwarzen played well in 1v1 last week, so I don't know. To me, the question, Andrew, in this King of the Hill set in particular is, does Wings get going or does Belican get going for Cream?
Exactly, right? Because whoever does get going, that's the person that's going to take the set and probably inevitably take the match. Obviously, for Cream, they'll do it in 2. I think that Schwarzen, after taking down Javi in that 1v1 set, has to be feeling more confident. I still don't like him closing out the set, though. I maybe want him in that second spot. We're going to take a look here at the lineups. Bob the Rock going to work his way back in. Wings taking a seat for the rest of the day. Air Surfer and then Schwarzen. Other side of it, no surprises. Belly, Michi, and then Pedro to close it out.
I don't understand why Wings... I'm actually kind of frustrated here. I don't understand why Wings isn't in the set. What is going on that you're not putting a guy who is tied career-wise for the most King of the Hill sweeps at 6 alongside Javi, a guy who was 7-0 in this set last season, 38 wins. I think he might be the career leader overall in King of the Hill wins at 38. Yeah, career leader, 66% in the set. I don't understand why Wings has been left out of so many King of the Hills this season.
I wish I had an answer for you, but I'm in the same boat. You know, Bob the Rock has beaten 2 people so far this season in King of the Hill, and they were both also rookies in Vitor and in Wallace. These, I don't know, man. This doesn't seem like the right play. I think kind of not having Wings in the set, unless it's solely by his choice, it feels almost insulting for him because of how much they have struggled in King of the Hill and how much talent he has.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's something behind the scenes that we don't know about of why Wings is playing only in 2v2 and not King of the Hill. Who knows? You know, if it's his choice, obviously it's an interesting one, and I'd like to know more about that. If it's a coaching decision. And again, I'm not talking about just today. I'm talking about this season that Wings has not been in multiple King of the Hill lineups. Just very, very strange.
Yeah, for sure, man. There was a couple there in the middle that we saw that he wasn't in, and it was probably, you know, we thought maybe he just wasn't on this season head-to-head wise, but then we saw him come out and get some wins out there, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But to the game at hand, Belican not excited about that interaction that just happened. Bob the Rock played some really great defense on that graveyard, which obviously is going to be pretty easy when you have the hut to keep things at bay, or excuse me, the cage to keep things at bay, and of course that poison on the back end to clean up those skeletons.
Here we go into double elixir time, and Ice Wiz gets pulled in and gets some strange Ice Wiz on tower damage. You don't see that happen a whole lot.
So misses the knight, goes to the cage. Nice poisons on both sides of the board.
Poison will do some cleanup work and get some damage on tower there for Bob the Rock, who so far on the season is 2-2 in King of the Hill.
You see a wow coming out from Bob the Rock. Surprised that 2 of those baby dragon belches came onto his princess tower, but that fisherman was just played a little bit too low.
And Belly is just cycling stuff behind King Tower. That's been the name of the game. Not a lot of fancy footwork out of the Brit thus far.
Yeah, well, Belly's got to keep a lot of units on the board. He definitely loses the DPS battle, so the problem for him is he can never have too much crossing the river behind the Mega Knight, because he just doesn't have the damage there. So what is he going to do? He has to cycle in the back, so he's always got responses ready. It's going to be interesting to see when Belican does finally go on offense.
Final minute 40. Here we are in sudden death overtime. Did that baby dragon get a little bit on tower through a flying Mega Knight, or did I miss that?
I don't believe so, but I'm not 100% sure. I think it was still at 1934. Belican now solely on defense. Trouble, trouble, trouble.
And yeah, Belly just kind of looks at that. Bob, I don't know who looks more bemused, Belly or Bob right now.
Well, I mean, if Bob the Rock did hear what we had to say going into that set, now probably feeling like he proved himself, taking down Belican, who has been so stellar in King of the Hill. And you know what? We were wrong. I'll just say it right now. Bob the Rock comes out. He gets a win against Belican. That's all you need out of him for the day. Hopefully for him, he can go in and pick up another one. But great job to start this out. He never got over-aggressive, waited for his moment, went in for the kill, and here we are.
Yeah, there we go. Bob getting his win there. Does improve his King of the Hill record this season to 3-2, so moves in to a positive win rate in that set. Overall, though, needs one more win to hit an even 50-50 on the season. Belican has been really good in that set so far, but this one just did not go his way.
I mean, just look at the massive differences we have in hands here. There's so much more utility on Bob's side. You got the Fisherman to pull, the E-Wiz to stun. The Hunter single target damage is devastating against Belicans. It just inhales the Knight, the Brawler, and the Baby Dragon. all of these things kind of come into play. That's why Belican can never really go on offense, is because he doesn't have enough DPS to clean this Mega Knight off the board quickly and efficiently. So here we go. Bob goes on offense. Belican's got his Baby Dragon distracted. His Ice was distracted. He has to barrel early and poisons out a cycle. What are you going to do then? You're going to lose the game, Rich.
Yeah, that Mega Knight was doing all the tanking. That Mega Knight might have tanked for another game at the same time as that one with how much tanking it was doing. So big win there for Bob the Rock. Misfits, of course, is behind a set, but this is a good start. It's going to be a difficult King of the Hill, but it feels like Bob has taken out the most dangerous person in the lineup so far.
Yeah, and now what needs to happen for Bob the Rock is this shift in kind of perspective from the audience and from our point of view that what just happened is not a surprise. It's not an outlier. This is something he could consistently do, and he needs to prove it as we move through this King of the Hill. Michifu up next.
Yeah, Michi's a guy who was really thought as going to be the carry so far this season, coming into this 2020 fall split. Of course, has been phenomenal in 2v2, no questions about that. In King of the Hill, just an even 4-4.
Bob the Rock going very, very quick here to start, and then a Barb Hut.
The Barbarian from the barrel will do some double duty, taking off the Spear Goblins and getting 2 shots on that left-hand tower.
Yeah, always a good feeling when your Barbarrel can get the tower.
Musketeer trying to help a little bit and get some Barbarians on the opposite Barb Hut. We'll see if it does get more than one swing. It does get 1 in, does get 2 in, so really good sequence there for the Dutchman.
Now we have a Knight with 4 Barbarians behind. No Fireball in cycle for Bob the Rock. Will Michifu be able to punish him for using that spell?
I'm not sure here because while he doesn't have the Fireball in cycle, between the Barb Hut and the quick cycle options, and you see right here, Spear Goblins clean up pretty nicely.
A really, really nice cleanup there for Bob the Rock. Baby Dragon going to help with the Spear Goblins. One does stay alive, though, and Bob decides to continue on the offense here with the Musketeer.
Yeah, that was big with the Barbarians wandering in front of that lone Spear Goblin. So you see now that Barb Hut's down on both sides, Musketeer comes down, and it feels like Bob, at least at the moment, has pretty good control of the situation.
Yeah, and you know what? If we weren't sure of it, that was a really nice log to kind of ensure it. Now we've got a healthier Barb Hut on his side of the board and more elixir spent out of Michifu that's going to come across and be negligible. So Bob doing a great job so far, and here 2 games in. That was a sentence.
Heal Spirit cycled in the back, and Bob splitting spears 2 to the right here, maybe just trying to put a little bit of pressure and force Michifu to do something similar. And you see there, the Archer will go to the right-hand side to help stop, but you know, you almost gotta wonder if that was worth a response from Michi.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question to ask. I don't think it truly was worth a response from Michi, but he maybe just didn't want to give too much value on one spot again by double dropping his archers on one side of the board. And right now, it's just a really, really interesting game of chess that we have going on between these 2 gentlemen and their Barbarian Huts.
Yeah, just sitting back. No one really trying to take any big risks. Good Fireball out of Bob the Rock in that one.
Yeah, great Fireball from Bob the Rock. I mean, even though Bob is behind in damage, it really does feel like that he's made some of the smarter decisions in the game, but Michifu has been just straight consistent, getting a little bit of damage in here and there.
Well, look at this now. 3 Barb Huts on the board. It's a sea of blonde right now. So Bob maybe is making some sacrifices to create pressure, and now he does have pressure in the right-hand side with that Barbarian Hut.
Yeah, the only problem for these, you know, the triple Barb Hut stack, which is usually just such a great thing, it's almost usually a W, is there's just so much cheap splash damage or cheap cyclable damage here. You just get 2 Baby Dragons and 2 sets of Archers on the board, and it becomes so frustrating to try to break through for Bob.
Bob trying to protect the Musketeer there, doesn't get it done with the Spear Goblin's log combination. Instead, Muskie does go down. And that's been one interesting thing, is that Michifu's done a good job so far of controlling the Musketeers from Bob.
Yep, exactly, because that is kind of the it factor. Even another Barb Hut coming down is easy to control in comparison to that Musketeer.
Railhogs finally do come down for Bob as we get close to triple elixir here. Cycles the Heal Spirit to the left-hand side. Log for a bit more chip. 1911 to 1848 in the left-hand lane, where pretty much all of the fights been taking place.
And Michifu doing what Michifu does. I mean, Michifu's a very patient player. He's recognized that cycling out spell-wise is probably going to be his best bet because everything else he does has to be spent on defense. He's happy to play this game, and it becomes a frustrating position for Bob to be in.
Yeah, he's winning the game so far. Going to be under 1,500 HP on the left-hand side is Bob's tower, and now Pigs in the middle, going straight for that Barbarian hut, trying to just get ready for, I think, the next push behind. We'll see if he can get there quickly enough to put on some real pressure.
Yeah, really, really great job by Michifu right now, just completely controlling this game. I mean, just one Musketeer sneaking through really changes the entire game. One unit sneaking through, a hog, anything, but Michifu just not letting it happen. And look at that, Baby Dragon connects, Graveyard comes in. Great job by the Cream Royale Betis 2v2 star.
Yeah, that's how you write it down. If you game plan the way that matchup goes, you do exactly what Michifu did. Perfect control, perfect patience, and, you know, I'm not sure if what Bob's emotion is here because his face is the same as it was after last game, but that one's got to feel stifling.
Yeah, he's probably just trying to figure out what could he have done differently, and I don't think he could have really done anything differently, Rich. I think the only thing he could have done was have his opponent make a mistake and get over-aggressive. Michifu, once he recognized what he needed to do, look, I can defend, I can win these bridge battles, I never have to worry about your hogs coming in and me not having enough on the back end, so what am I going to do? I'm going to poison out until you feel desperate enough to overspend, and then I'll graveyard again. Really, really great by Michifu.
And there we go. This is exactly what happened. You see that Bob is just trying to find some way, any way, to create a bit more damage. And, you know, you have the Fireball log up against the Poison being the only direct damage spell, but Bob was unable to put those Fireballs on tower, whereas Michifu was able to put his Poisons on tower almost every single time.
And then you see right here kind of the results of all the things that we're talking about. It's two Baby Dragons coming down the river, Barb Hut healthy behind, Graveyard on the back end, and by the way, one of those Baby Dragons is also going to be belching on your tower. So just exactly what Michifu drew up. Play patient, poison damage, spell out, wait till your opponent feels desperate, goes on the offense, overspends, won't have enough to defend on the back end, drop your Graveyard, seal the deal. Very, very well done by Michifu, and this is why Cream's roster is so strong. You got these two guys that weren't even supposed to be the head-to-head stars coming in. The only problem is that when Belly or Michi goes down, it does seem like Pedro just hasn't been able to get in stride.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if Michifu can keep it going. He has for a long time been, let's go jump into the game, a top-tier ladder player, and part of the reason why he's in CRL is because of those very, very high-level ladder performances. On top of that, 3 number 2 finishes in the global tournament. That was a very methodical play, and I think we saw that both in 2v2 and 1v1, that, you know, part of being a good ladder player in particular is knowing when to put the pedal to the metal and knowing when you're going to win a grinder. And Michifu has won 2 grinders today.
100%. So Air Surfer going to be at the bottom of your screen here running Barb Hut into Michifu's Royal Giant deck. Hunter going to do a pretty good job cleaning everything up. Actually, no, it's not. Nice tankage there for that Mega Minion, and all of a sudden Michifu goes for a cheap defense into a ton of damage on that right-hand side.
That is absolutely huge. First 50 seconds and most of the tower damage done on the right-hand side. 11:24 remaining. So Air Surfer sets up on the left-hand side and going to go ahead, lather, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, exactly. I can't imagine Air Surfer does anything other than cycle, cheap cards, play defense, and stack Barb Huts because he has such a severe advantage this early on.
Interesting note with the popularity of Royal Giant and Schwarzen specifically being known as a good Barb Hut player. Gotta wonder what some of the game planning was this week for Misfits to prepare for this matchup.
And Royal Giant does still get one shot in.
Air Surfer with a slight elixir advantage chooses to put a healthy Barbarian in front of a dying Barbarian. Does not get on, but does force out the Barb Barrel response from Michifu.
Air Surfer most likely just going to put another Barb Hut down as soon as he can. There it is.
Just happy to clog up the lane and play defense here, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, why not? He's going to do that for the entire rest of this game. Even if he never has to go on offense, I'm sure he'll be happy to go to that 5-minute marker and just go lowest tower damage because with these barb huts on the board, how easy this deck cycles, he can start to stack them. And then he does have really, really, really high single target DPS with the Mega Minion, Musketeer, and Knight.
Interesting graveyard choice out of Air Surfer. Just as we're talking about playing the slow game, Air Surfer does get enough an advantage that he wants to go ahead and push. And this will end up pretty well for him. He's going to get a lot of damage on those troops and obviously quite a bit on that tower.
Yeah, Michi overspending just a little bit ends up giving a lot of poison value there to Air Surfer. Royal Giant going to come in, probably get about 4 shots in here. I think it was actually only 2. Nice Musketeer drop late, get a lot more DPS on the board.
I think those ghosts out of Michifu on the left-hand side looked scarier than they ended up being because of the ability of Air Surfer to clog that up. So the big question is going to be this push here. Does he have enough? Down to 1 elixir, but still the single target damage on these Royal Giants has been massive.
Yeah, the single target damage is enough to keep up with the health of that Barbarian hut. And since Michifu has to spend so much, it's not one of those situations where you're dropping a Barb hut, it's going off the board, and you're losing elixir battles. It's that you're getting a decent enough counter push.
And this is a hard matchup for Michifu. And you see the one thing that Air Surfer's been doing with these Barb huts is playing them lower than you've seen them played in other situations. And he's trying to keep those Barb huts away from the Royal Ghost. We saw Ruben play against this same situation, and the way he came out on top was by getting those ghosts on the Barb hut. Air Surfer doing his best to make sure that doesn't happen.
Exactly. Now that Royal Ghost up high, the Barb Barrel going across the river to the Barb hut, or the Fisherman being played up high all become useless. So really, really nice placement there from Air Surfer. And Mega Minion does not sneak in front of that Musketeer, but Musketeer's still going to get a couple shots in.
Final minute of gameplay, triple elixir flowing. And Air Surfer sets up the Barb hut low to pressure the right-hand lane.
Yep, and he's just hanging out, just like we said. No reason to go back on offense on that right-hand side. There was that one graveyard that he dropped in, but luckily for him, Michifu overspends and gave a ton of poison value. Poison at the river just to make sure all these tanks die on the vine, and that should be a pretty easy, or this should be a pretty easy 30 seconds for Air Surfer.
Yeah, and you saw a Heal Spirit kind of given away by Michifu there to a Barb Barrel as well, so things not going too well for him. Second Barb hut does come down in front, and more just cloggage. So Michifu gets the grinding win in game number 2. Air Surfer says, anything you can do, I can do too, and grinds out the win in game number 3.
Yeah, and you know, this is, it sometimes isn't the most fun thing to do when you're playing the game, but you know what? That's how you take the wins. You sit back, you ride that advantage you got early on, and you just play defense. And so Michi and Air Surfer were both kind of laughing because I think they both knew exactly where that game was going to go after that very first huge hit from Air Surfer.
Yep, there you go, and Air Surfer now with the chance to get the set victory for Misfits and send them to the third and final. Of course, we don't know who will come out. Bob played nicely earlier. You expect, though, that it would be Schwarzen. Michifu does have to regroup and sit back and hope that their player, their third player on their list, can get it done. And now this King of the Hill set, all on the shoulders of a guy who so far this season hasn't won a lot in this opening, or in this second set. 1-8 is Pedro and King of the Hill.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, 1-4.
We just talk about struggles all season long in any set that he's in, and I definitely tip my hat to Michifu, able to kind of smile at the fact that he was just ice skating uphill for 5 minutes and throw out the good game to Air Surfer. And you know what? This is that one graveyard where you and I were talking. I don't know if this is actually a good idea. You got the game in control, no reason to overspend. But the great thing here is that his opponent dropped all of that right into the poison. You got the Fisherman up high, the Barbarian, the Musketeer, and of course that Royal Ghost. All of those things being dropped in a poisonable spot makes it so that Air Surfer's graveyard actually ends up being brilliant as opposed to a waste of elixir.
And this is that single target damage. Just, there's no way for Michifu to really get to all the pieces there.
Yeah.
Right? In particular, the Mega Minion is so hard to deal with. So you have this heavy hitter on defense. You bury that Musketeer way back there, and Michi has really no way to get in. So good matchup there for Air Surfer, and now he goes up against Pedro, who, by the way, is 1-8 overall in the season. Yeah. 0-4 King of the Hill, 1-4 in 1v1. And you know, you wonder where Cream Royale Betis would be if Pedro had been playing even good Clash Royale, not great Clash Royale, in the front half of the season.
Well, Pedro's one of those interesting guys whose name you and I had heard thrown a lot in the professional space. You know, he was supposed to join us, you know, a season prior to when he actually did, but wasn't able to due to visa issues. And, you know, when I finally actually saw him play online, it was jaw-dropping. It was amazing gameplay. We just haven't seen any of that here in CRL, and I don't know why today would be the day he turns it on, but for Cream, this is the moment he really needs to.
Cannon cart to the left-hand side with the Goblin Gang, and that Fisherman gonna be enough to keep the damage off tower. Miner gets picked up by the Hunter opposite lane.
Yeah, already seeing something a little bit more fresh here from Air Surfer.
So it feels like Pedro may be going back to this Royal Giant deck that's been so popular. And the Ghost will get at least one shot here.
Bats come in, not going to have anything to support the bats as the Miner is not in cycles, so not your favorite thing to do.
You don't see a lot of bats these days, Andrew.
Yeah, you really don't. I'm wondering if maybe they're going to start coming back into the meta. We've been seeing a little bit more of them lately, but unfortunately with the increase in use of the Electro Spirit not in competitive play, it does make a lot of those really, really soft, you know, swarm high DPS troops useless.
Royal Ghost does get to pick up on the bar barrel, but not the other piece, and now Pedro does set up his first Royal Giant in the back, Mortar low.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking this is that Mortar bait deck that we've been seeing, and we've seen this before. We've seen different iterations of this, you know, very, very kind of classic makeup with a certain cards changed in and out. No log, obviously, for the bar barrel. Curious to see what the big spell is. Probably going to be Fireball.
Dark Goblin to the right-hand side. Heal Spirit goes behind, just able to keep the Miner from getting on tower as the Eagles.
Yeah, and you know, with pushes like that, I'm starting to wonder when Air Surfer might try to switch lanes up a bit. Neither tower is that weak, and since you can create so much pressure for cheap, and Pedro doesn't have a lot of spell power, it feels like that might be something he needs to go for as we move forward in this game.
Ghost in front of the Royal Giant. The RG push, gonna get held together pretty well there at the bridge, but a second Royal Giant down now with an E-Wiz and the Fisherman behind and able to pull the cannon cart in.
Yeah, Gang not placed where it needed to be. Gang needed to be on top of that cannon cart. Tough though, because you don't want to give too much bar barrel value. However, cannon cart getting pulled away is not what you want.
Pretty close at this stage. Sudden death overtime on its way, and nice swing there from the Ghost to clean up the Gang very easily. Miner has to come out defensively.
Yeah, that Royal Ghost should turn around back to the Miner. Now Cannon Cart has to come down as well, but that Royal Giant is very healthy, and we do not have a log in the hand of Air Surfer, so shots will come in.
Not going to heal Spirit here. Instead, Pedro going to set up in the back with the Ghost this time. 90 seconds left. E-Wiz to get behind the Ghost. And again, defensive Miner out for Air Surfer.
And that is not what Air Surfer wants to have to do here, but Pedro's doing a great job of where he's placing that Royal Ghost and what he's going to put behind it, to where Air Surfer knows the Miner has to come down to catch that Fisherman. Or excuse me, that
really
Royal Ghost.
Excellent heal Spirit there. Gets the Royal Giant on tower for a couple of shots, and now more pressure on the right-hand side. Air Surfer way behind on damage and behind on Elixir.
Yeah, Air Surfer just incredibly overwhelmed right now. Pedro firmly in the driver's seat. Air Surfer doing anything and everything he can, but the Fisherman plays have been excellent.
Goblin Gang at the bridge. Cannon Cart just has not been able to cross the bridge really at all. Mortar does get a couple of big connections, though.
Fisherman going to pull this Cannon Cart over to his side of the map, Air Surfer's side of the map. No, gets caught on the bridge.
And Fireball just does not quite get a lock there for the Mortar. Cannon Cart setting up Bar Barrel in front to pull all that into the middle. Fireball trying to stick that Cannon Cart up high. Miner does get on tower for Air Surfer.
Yeah, nice Fireball coming in. Miner getting on tower, though, not worried is Pedro here with a substantial lead on that right-hand side. No reason to go back on offense, just time to defend out, and this should be a nice second win of the season and first King of the Hill win of the season for Pedro.
Yeah, that's a big one, and one he needed in this moment. You don't want to give it up to the 1v1 set, despite having the advantage overall. Pedro, you know, it's interesting. I'm looking at, let's go back and take a look at the deck of Air Surfer here in just a moment. And, you know, you gotta wonder a little bit about this choice, especially with how popular so much Splash is in the meta right now. Bats are a very, very interesting call at the moment. Don't love the deck selection from Air Surfer.
Yeah, you know, and if you are going to use your bats, you need to figure out a way to create pressure for cheap with this deck. Whether it's a bar barrel plus bats, whether it's miner plus bats or a goblin gang, whether it's the barrel plus the dark goblin, like there's just got to be ways for him to create more pressure than he was able to. And a big part of creating pressure for cheap are the bats. It's just that his opponent here did a good job of cleaning things up with the Heal Spirit. The Fireball is obviously going to help with the bats and the cannon cart coming across the bridge. A tough spot, but I just felt like Air Surfer made it a little bit easier than it should have been for Pedro. And then, of course, this kind of rinse and repeat he got caught in. At that point, it was just done.
Yeah, it was really, really brutal, and the elixir began to go more and more towards Pedro's direction. Easy control overall, and now Misfits is back in a familiar situation where they're playing one game to extend themselves to a set that has also been trouble for them.
You know, and sometimes when you'll see a defensive miner come out, it's just a great way to cheap, like make a positive trade because he's tanky enough. Maybe it helps you fix your cycle. You do it 3 times in a row, and that's when your opponent knows you're really, really in trouble. Because what that tells your opponent is you've only got 3 elixir, and you've literally got no other good response to get to or the elixir to get there. So what does he do? He just stays on offense. Miners have to keep coming out, keep doing the same thing, keep dropping that Royal Ghost up high, Royal Giant behind. No problems.
Here we go, game number 4, King of the Hill. Pedro looking to earn his paycheck here with a chance to close things out against Schwarzen.
Yep, Schwarzen bottom of your screen, Pedro at the top here, and Schwarzen most recently, as we said, took down Javi Catorce 2-1 in that 1v1 set. The last King of the Hill appearance that was successful, he took down Kevin R.A. and Pompeo, but then lost to Diego B.
Bar Barrel in front of the Heal Spirit, and that will give the Barbarian no shots against the Electro Wizard. And that Baby Dragon meets the E-Wiz just out of range of the Princess Tower, forcing Schwarzen to maybe put a little bit extra on it.
Yeah, it's always a little bit frustrating, and now easy cleanup for Pedro.
Fisherman cycle to the right-hand side for Schwarzen, not really concerned about anything getting pulled in here from what he's seen so far out of Pedro's deck. That Fisherman cycle behind King Tower is always a little nerve-wracking, at least until you know the lay of the land.
And Hunter gonna try to stay alive with the help of that Heal Spirit, but played way too early and far back, so Pedro knew it was coming for a mile, and kind of counters it there. Gets a little bit more damage on tower.
Fireball in, Baby Dragon gonna get controlled here by the Hunter. First 90 seconds are finished, and Pedro does have the damage lead, and because of the Hunter, just slightly ahead on Elixir.
Yeah, Schwarzen making a few negative trades so far, but nothing crazy, so in a good spot.
So here we go. The Fisherman's gonna go down. Brawler's on the board. Pedro a little bit ahead on Elixir, so happy to spend that poison and take care of the Hunter while do a little bit of extra tower damage.
Schwarzen really, really looking to get that Heal Spirit to activate, keep his Hunter on the board, but just a little bit ill-timed.
This has been very well controlled by Pedro.
Yeah, it almost feels like a different Pedro today, Rich. Kind of the Pedro that we expected to see since day one. So Royal Giant right into it. Goblin Cage played up high. The Fisherman pulls it back behind the tower. Going to get a few shots in, but the issue in here is the counter push coming in for Pedro.
And this time the Mega Knight not tanking for the Graveyard. The Baby Dragon locked in with the E-Wiz up high. despite the low health, a lot of pressure coming in at the bridge for Pedro.
Yeah, and a nice poison as well. Ewiz comes down, and a severe elixir advantage goes in Pedro's favor.
Mega Knight cycled in the back one more time. We're entering into sudden death overtime. Pedro so far in control, and Schwarzen cycles the Heal Spirit. You understand why, but so far the Heal Spirit has not done much to help him win these bridge fights.
Yeah, and he needs to do exactly what he's doing this time around, which is not play the Royal Giant as the tank up front, because that Royal Giant provides no utility, no damage on the other units. But unfortunately for him, he just doesn't have enough tanks in his deck.
Narrowly avoids a Mega Knight swing at that right-hand tower. Does Schwarzen still in a lot of trouble, behind by about 1,000 HP in the right-hand lane. It is the young German for Misfits.
Yeah, I just can't really imagine how Schwarzen is able to actually get back in control of this game, or maybe not even back in control, find any semblance of control in this game. Mega Knight gets pulled on in, it does leap, and the splash damage, yes sir.
Wow, that's going to be it here. Mega Knight swings one more time. Going to be one more poison to finish things off here. 31 HP. Pedro should be able to contain this very, very simply, put the poison down, and put Misfits away to move his team to 4-3 and maintain their hold on a playoff position.
Yeah, Pedro 15 finally comes out and does what we've expected since day one. Schwarzen, you know, having a great last 1v1 set, not able to extend the life of his squad, extend the life of Misfits to that 1v1 set, and kind of back to the drawing board for Misfits as they move to 1-6 on the season.
Look, I mean, forgive the play on words here, but this Misfits roster is a misfit.
Yeah.
It does not work the way you wanted it to. You came in with a 2v2 plan. That 2v2 plan didn't work, and maybe it's because, you know, the theory we talked about earlier that that there's no real leader between Bob and Schwarzen, so they had to pull them out of that set, and then it puts Wings and Air Surfer in a very, very weird spot. This team does not fit together, and we're seeing the results here.
Other than their last match, they just haven't won really a head-to-head set other than the one sweep from Air Surfer. Schwarzen comes out and he gets a win early on, but if you talk about sets and you talk about having something locked down, you need to have something locked down other than King of the Hill. You just have to. And the fact that they've only won 2 of those King of the Hills still speaks volumes to just this misfit roster. It's just not going to work out. Unfortunately, there's a lot of other squads out there that we talk about, oh, maybe they move things around, maybe they drop one guy here, add a guy there. Misfits is almost looking like a full-on sell at this point.
I don't understand the Wings question, right? He didn't play in the King of the Hill in the match against Pain, which they lost, which, you know, you wonder if he could have been a swing there in that situation. So he didn't play there. They still won that King of the Hill. But Wings not playing King of the Hill, so you wonder how much Bob and Schwarzen not being in 2v2 has affected that. And again, I think that's the number one question.
Yep.
Why is the best King of the Hill player in the history of Clash Royale League in the West not playing in the set he's known for? I think that answers need to be given there.
Yeah, and you know what? Just pure speculation here. I'm wondering if it's strictly because Wings is forced to play a set that he doesn't want to play regularly, and they keep losing in that set. He doesn't want to play in King of the Hill. He's pissed off. He's frustrated. He's tilted. And you saw in the last match what happened. He played well in 2v2, a set that he doesn't want to be in, but they still take the win. He comes out. He picks up a win in King of the Hill. That's all you need out of him. Take him out of that 2v2 set, let him focus on King of the Hill, and figure out your other 2 sets with your other 3 players. As you just said, Rich, he's the best King of the Hill player in the history of Clash Royale League in the West here. Let him shine. Let him excel. Put him in a position to succeed.
Yeah, let him spin, as they would say. On the other side of it, Cream Royale Betis with a big win here, at least temporarily. That should move them into 5th place over Dig, taking their record to 4-3 overall. This is a critical one because they have a lot of teams right now nipping at their heels, and they've just taken one of those out of the running.
So next up here, it's going to be Spacestation Gaming, playing pretty well this season, but our former world champions in Team Liquid have been struggling quite a bit. That will be our last match of the day.
Welcome back to our last match of the day. Beautiful shots of downtown New York City as we get ourselves into this final one between Spacestation Gaming and Team Liquid. So far, Andrew, no upsets today. SK defends their first place position. Cream Real Betis keeps themselves in the playoff hunt. Spacestation now with a chance to try to stay in that race for the top 2 spots against the defending world champions.
Yeah, I really had faith there in Misfits for just a moment, but unfortunately for them, just not able to close things out, and unfortunate for me in regards to our predictions. Team Liquid, another squad that hasn't been having a season that you'd expect out of our former world champions. Surgical Goblin, Igor, names that you've been listening to for years, Canario. These are guys out there, and in Razor, of course, that have been... We've been talking about them for years. They're the best in the game in their respective slots, but for some reason, Team Liquid, maybe the most storied organization in all of esports, is just really, really struggling here in the fall of 2020, and they still got the same great coach in Eric Benamou. What's going on with Liquid, Rich?
I don't know. Maybe it's a mixture of the 2v2 not being on the same page and unable to really get clicking to develop a relationship, develop a rapport, and we saw that get abused by Pain Gaming the other weekend. Yeah. Maybe it's burnout. These guys have been training so hard for so long, and it's hard to keep that on. So let's go ahead and jump into our final match of the day. It's going to be Spacestation Gaming against Team Liquid.
Yeah, Spacestation Gaming, a squad that we saw started off pretty good in a 2v2 set with AC missing. He comes back late in the season. They struggled just a bit to start out, and you know what? Spacestation looking back and fighting for him. So here we go. Team Liquid, Spacestation Gaming to close out our Saturday day of matches.
Spacestation Gaming contra Team Liquid, un equipo que es candidato en contra de un equipo que debería haber sido candidato. Spacestation jugando muy bien, otra vez levantando su nivel, y Team Liquid que sigue con severos problemas y prácticamente con un pie afuera de la CRL.
Spacestation en contra de Team Liquid. Para mí Team Liquid ya lo tenemos ahí ya totalmente hundido, pero esto sería el último golpe. SSG jugó de una manera fenomenal, pero no está nada escrito. Esperemos a ver qué sucede en este gran partido.
They're going up against a Team Liquid that finally won some 2v2, but doesn't seem to get it clicking on all cylinders. Spacestation Gaming is a heavy favorite in this one.
Spacestation contra Team Liquid, os atuais campeões mundiais não estão numa fase muito boa não. A Spacestation, por outro lado, tá muito bem.
A Liquid tá muito complicado, não tá conseguindo vencer, ganhou apenas um. A Spacestation vai bem, vai mal, vai bem, vai mal, 4/2. Mas aqui eu acho que ainda vai dar Spacestation do brasileiro Samuel Bassotto.
It's been very different stories for two defending champions, the defending Western champions after their win in the special season of the spring. Doing great, the defending world champions, Andrew, just not able to get it together.
Spacestation Gaming, Crap, Lapacati, Samuel, and their MVP of the season, the God RF. Rich, they have only won King of the Hill sets this season where the God RF has swept. Yes, that is correct. The God RF has been that dominant this season for Spacestation Gaming, but they are going to need other players to step up in that head-to-head spot.
Yeah, it's been sweep city for him. On the other side, just no one quite getting in rhythm. Razor and Surgical Goblin have been the 2v2 duo. Razor and Canario have been the 2v2 duo. So far, no rhythm there. Canario had a great spot last weekend, a connection issue, and then came out in the 1v1 it's been tough. Even Igor has not been able to get in rhythm this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been really tough on Team Liquid when you're putting so much on your head-to-head plays because 2v2 has been such a struggle. Surgical Goblin, Razor, as you can see, banning Giant Skeleton. They will be at the top of your screen. The God RF and Autocrat banning Tornado. They'll be the home team today. Here we go. Can Team Liquid turn things around in game number 1?
We will see. Here we go. Surgical Goblin and Canario will be at the top of your screen. AC and RF down at the bottom.
Razor.
And Razor.
So just sitting back, hanging out.
Nothing really doing here so far. And there you go. Now a bit of action, and quite a bit of action to get moving.
Yeah, AC or RF gonna spend 11 elixir, add 4 more to that, 15 on the left-hand side of the map.
Mega Knight gets pulled all the way in for a nice little King Tower activation and defensive lightning to clean up the rest of it.
So 9 elixir to 12, nothing really on the board here for Surgical or Razor that's going to demand much of a response. Maybe we get a Heal Spirit or something very cheap on the right-hand side from AC and RF. Nope, they're going to go ahead and let that Fisherman go on through to the tower, get 1 slap.
So there we see Balloon coming in left-hand side. It is going to be Balloon Graveyard for AC and RF. And the raged up Balloon trying to sneak on through. Ewiz just barely holds on.
Yeah, look at that. The Electro Dragon coming out for Surgical Goblin and Razor right now. A card that we might start to see a little bit more in 2v2 just because of how popular Graveyard Balloon has been. And look at that. Cannon Cart connection. That's massive.
Huge. Absolutely huge. Lava Hound now down for Surgical Goblin in the left-hand side as he and Razor prepare to get their next big push going as we move into double elixir time.
So there you go. High Inferno Tower. I was going to say, there's not a lot of air response in the hands of AC and RF, so this Inferno Tower is going to have to really, really do some work for them. And it does.
Mega Knight leaps across. Ewiz in support. You don't see a ton of Electro Dragon these days, Andrew. You know, it's a part of the annoying Stinky Cheese deck, which we've seen very little of here in CRL, but it's doing nice work so far. I mean, for Surge and Razor.
I think it could be a great card that comes into 2v2. That stun ability on the ground and in the skies, the ability to get on top of maybe, you know, bats behind, cheap units behind, especially something like a Heal Spirit. Maybe, just maybe, we'll start to see more Electro Dragon as we move forward.
Inferno Tower set up very high with the Ewiz Mega Knight in front.
Nice lightning there this time from Surgical and Razor, getting a little bit more out of it than the one we saw before.
But the Inferno Tower does its job there, Andrew. It stops the push at the bridge and takes care of most of this trouble.
Yeah, Surgical and Razor need to figure out some way to get that Electro Dragon that they have behind this Lava Hound and helping with those Inferno Towers so that the Inferno Towers have to be played in inopportune spots that then are open to being lightning, like right now.
A lot on the board right now. Baby Dragons come in. Ewiz, you know, it looks like a sacrificial Ewiz, Andrew, but actually completely did its job. Distracted the Baby Dragons so the defensive units of AC and RF could control that.
Yeah, and Surgical Goblin and Razor just not able to get back around to the lightning or not have the elixir in hand to cast that lightning. Being able to take down that Ewiz Hunter and get damage on the tower would have been massive for them.
Inferno Tower low this time. E-Dragon and a nice fireball to protect there, but still a lot of trouble for Spacestation Gaming.
And the nice thing there for Razor and Surgical Goblin is that Inferno Tower being played there allows that chain lightning to come in from the Electro Dragon. So there's the lightning plus the poison. Surgical Goblin and Razor picking up a big W, and you see some smiles on their face, very reminiscent of what we saw when Wings and Air Surfer picked up their win last match.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. And You know, Surgical Goblin and Razor, they still want to win. They still want to compete. And they still want to stay relevant. So far, we've seen 3 teams on the brink eliminated. They do not want to be, or 2 eliminated. They do not want to be number 3.
Yeah, so Razor and Surgical Goblin doing a great job there. There was some questionable decisions that happened early on. There was that one lightning that happened in the very first moments of the game, but you know what? It wasn't too much being spent by Team Liquid, and they did a very, very nice job managing that game, finding moments to sneak their offense in, and Akrap and RF just not really able to break on through like they'd like.
Lava Hound just getting past, and you think about it. You think about the Lightning and the Electro Dragon both doing a good job against the Inferno Tower. Right idea, but the pieces that were in there for their opponents just made it so it was not able to hold up against the pressure.
Yeah, and you know, there was a couple sequences where Surgical Goblin and Razor, if they were able to get that lightning in or able to squeeze in that Electro Dragon, but as you can see, they're both in the hands of Surge, and you know, it's really, really expensive to be able to get that Lava Hound down, and then the Wiz, and then the Lightning. So all those things, they did a really good job of waiting, never overspending in those moments, because you need to have some of those guys in response defensively. You know, if you're not going to use that Lightning on offense, you saw him use it on the right-hand side of the board defensively against that Mega Knight plus E-Wiz.
So the first game does go to the struggling 2v2 duo of Surgical Goblin and Razor. This is a match that they could win. You know, this is a curious one for Spacestation Gaming at 4-2 right now. I don't know if they can afford to really give up a match like this one at this stage in the season.
Yeah, I mean, you really want to start separating yourself from the pack with as many squads as we have with the same record, or at least with 1 game loss differential. You know, every single loss makes it so that you're still on the chopping block. You're not guaranteed into playoffs. And yes, there are a couple squads at the very bottom that have truly been struggling, but you really need to excel and get into that top 3. If we're going to let 6 in, you want to be in that top 3.
All right, let's jump on into it. Game number 2. Team Liquid with the advantage. Bans one more time are Tornado and Giant Skeleton.
So once again, these guys starting off a little bit slow.
And Lava again for Liquid.
Lava, E-Dragon. All right. We see that.
We'll see if any changes have been made by AC and RF. And
a lot.
They're just going to go heavy on the left-hand side.
Yeah, Balloon looks like is getting tanked for by those skeletons. Going to be an easy drop on through. That's tower down in the top left-hand side for very, very little in the bottom right.
Yeah, I mean, you really hope that's a tower trade situation if you're Team Liquid. Instead, easily dealt with on the right-hand side is that big Lava Hound Electro Dragon push, and pretty much nothing doing on the opposite side for Surge and Razor on defense.
Yeah, you know, you get that Hunter, I believe it was a Hunter Fireball combination, just cleans all that up, and so much elixir being able to be spent offensively for Spacestation on that great graveyard drop left-hand side of your screen.
Lava Hound Inferno Dragon behind, and this time you see the low Inferno Tower. It's going to go away. This Lava Hound's going to get on through. Mega Knight trying to set the line high, and nothing at the moment, really. A late zap on the Inferno Dragon does keep the Cannon Cart from getting too much into the mix, but very low elixir right now for Space Station.
Yeah, that's a lot of healthy units on the board. That Mega Minion is going to tank for those pups, and look at this, just piling it on at the bridge. That freeze comes in, but we all know what those types of freezes do, Rich. They cost elixir, they don't clean units off the board, and now AC and RF are very far behind.
Yeah, it gets to be a very interesting question here, Andrew, of how much do they invest in their next defense? They have to make some positive trades on this defensive side of the board. And I don't know, I mean, 38 seconds left. If they can hold on here, great, but that's a big if.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely don't go back on offense. That's the one difficulty with Graveyard in this 2-tower game, going up against a beatdown deck that's going to be working in that same lane that you want to go in. Now we have the Inferno out of cycle, and the Lightning should be back in their hand. They just need a couple more elixirs. Surge is at 4, 5, now 6. Does the Lightning come in? There it is. Big Lightning.
Yeah, a lot of troops on the board here. Can they get to the tower? Snowball in, Inferno Dragon burning away. Nothing to save it. We are going to a 2-tower game.
We are in trouble if we're Space Station Gaming. We're in a 2-tower game. Yes, they've got Balloon, but they need Balloon and Graveyard there, and a lot of times you need them both to work together. The other side of it, we got Surgical Goblin and Razor, who should be able to go on offense pretty easily in the center of this map after playing defense.
The smart thing that Space Station did here was not put too much effort into that defense. Once they sort of saw that it was going to be, okay, Lava Hound takes care of the Inferno Tower, second Lava Hound comes down in front, they did it so they would have about a 6 elixir advantage going into this sequence. Unfortunately, they just cannot break through.
Yeah, luckily for them, though, there is not enough elixir in hand of either Razor or Surge to get that Lava Hound down in front. And it's a very tough thing to manage, but if they can, that's what they need to do. They need to make him spend so much that their counter push is not able to get supported with the Lava Hound.
Inferno Tower early, Lightning Value takes care of the Electro Wizard. And a Baby Dragon stays on and gets healed up by the Heal Spirit. Absolutely massive for Liquid.
Yeah, this is trouble. Now you see that Lava Hound in the pocket, and a second one. I knew it was going to come in. You saw Razor ticks to 7 right then, and AC and RF are in danger of getting swept in this 2v2.
2 Electro Wizards down, Snowball trying to help them out with a little bit of room here, and just dropping everything they can in the middle to try to control all the aerial units. Second Baby Dragon comes down, and now here is an opportunity, maybe the last opportunity for Space Station Gaming in this 2v2.
And there's the defensive poison coming in on top of that freeze. Princess
The
Tower
balloon
frozen.
goes to the cannon cart, Andrew, instead of the Goblin Cage. Oh my word, Lightning has to come down on defense. This is very, very tight, and it's all that cannon cart.
Yeah, and that's a huge moment for Space Station Gaming. They're going to go right on offense because they had to spend, Liquid had to spend that elixir on the defensive Lightning, not what they wanted to do.
You gotta put spells on the right-hand side. Oh my god, Space Station Gaming just barely steals it. Unbelievable finish, and you see that Surge and Razor can't even be angry. That cannon cart pulled the balloon away from the properly placed cage and completely upended their defense.
And you have to imagine that's what they're talking about right now, kind of explaining their case, smiling a little bit with one another, because that's just one of those things that it's all been set in motion already, and then when you recognize it's going to happen, there's nothing you can do about it. AC and RF squeeze by, sneak by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, that was crazy, and I'm sure we'll go back and take a look at the replay for that one in just a moment, but you know, you have everything going right, and it's very, very rare that the cannon cart does you dirty like that. Usually that extra bit of defense is helpful, and this is going to be a little bit early. This is going to be the big opening salvo from Space Station Gaming.
Yeah, this is just a great hit by them. You see here getting tanked for by the skeletons, then the Dark Prince is tanking for the balloon. Balloon just cruises right on through. Over expenditure here from Liquid as well, and just not able to get much from it. They obviously go right back on offense here as we're going to look at this sequence. They did a good job of taking care of the Inferno Tower early and then saving their Lightning for late.
Yeah, look at this. Cannon cart comes in on the back end, second Lava Hound in front, and there's no stopping this for Space Station Gaming. They're stuck in this situation. There's too much on the board they can't handle all at once, and this was a very smartly put together push by Surge and Razor.
Yeah, Lightning comes in, cleans everything up. Fisherman comes down because it feels like there is just enough to salve there for Space Station Gaming. Obviously, they wish they could get that 3 elixir back, and then from that point on, it didn't really feel like it was Team Liquid for a lot of the rest of the game, but look at this. Cannon cart pops, balloon retargets, and then the defensive Lightning has to come in after the snowball. Okay, so you've got Lightning, snowball, Baby Dragon, all that up front. Well, the problem with that is, Rich, you have no elixir to defend this push.
Yeah, no elixir at all, and great recognition by AC and RF to put the pressure on in this moment, taking big advantage and able to slide right on by. I mean, they're behind up until that moment right there in the last 3 seconds, taking the win. And not only was it an elixir problem there, Andrew, it was a spell damage problem, whereas it got to the spell cycle fight at the end, Liquid could not put anything on the offensive side of the board because they had to spend it on that errant balloon.
Yeah, and one of the great things about Clash Royale is sometimes truly, and we've said this a lot over the years, is defense is not only the best offense, but it's really the only offense you have. And that's what SSG did right there. Them going on offense at the bridge made it so that anything dropped in the pocket by Team Liquid, like that cannon cart, was defended. And they still stayed enough on offense that Team Liquid was never able to recoup that elixir they needed to put something in the pocket. So here we go. Game number 3, a back and forth battle. It does feel like Team Liquid, though, has been clicking just a little bit better than Aw Crap and RF.
Yeah, for sure. And it was just one almost unpredictable or low predictable interaction there that ended up swinging the game towards Spacestation. We'll see if AC and RF can take advantage of that opening or if Razor and Surge keep looking as good as they have today so far.
So here we go. Game number 3 hopping in right after that timeout was taken by Spacestation Gaming and Trainer Luis. You know, that is something that is so on brand for Trainer Luis. You pick up a game win and you take a timeout, and it's not even in a match point situation. Luis loves doing that. He sees something that he liked out of his boys, and he wants to make sure that they recognize the same thing that he did.
Look at the amount of damage done in the opening moments here, Andrew, by Spacestation Gaming. But now going back to Lava Hound yet again. So Surge and Razor just saying, hey, we felt good about it twice. Let's go for number 3.
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy, Rich, about that damage that came in so early on, like you were saying, was only 5 cards were played by Spacestation at that point. And as you can see right now, obviously hindsight is 20/20, but I think we all kind of felt it coming that Spacestation was going to have more than enough to defend.
First minute away, and it is SSG with the lead, 1975 to 1126.
And it really does feel like Liquid just needs to slow down at the beginning of their games, because, you know, we've seen them play from behind so many times, and even when they've found those game victories, it still felt like they were playing from behind. You see the game start off like this. If only 5 cards are played and Spacestation's already up almost 2,000 damage, you gotta slow your tempo down.
That Goblin Barrel out of Spacestation was brilliant right there. They go to the safe spot, despite not being against Tornado, because they were predicting the drop being played by Surgical Goblin and Razor of troops rather than a spell.
Yeah.
Surge and Razor go behind into the inside corner, and those goblins get a ton of damage on the right.
Whereas a very, very late snowball is 100% better mitigation, 100% mitigation, and a positive trade. So, yeah, just like you said, brilliant from Spacestation.
Continue to pile on the damage on the right-hand side is SSG. 336 remains, and nothing for the Inferno Tower here. Fisherman will control the Dark Prince in the front end. And that's going to be close to tower down here. 39 HP remains.
You know, this deck moves so quickly, and there's so many small swarm troops in it. It is so difficult to manage and get there. I was going to say, I almost stopped myself because they hadn't played the Electro Dragon yet, but I assume they did have it in their hands, but they're not finding good positions to play it. That's the biggest problem. So it comes down to is basically, I think, the 16th card played by Liquid.
Great Foul, great Fireball, excellent Dart Goblin. And what I really like about this play from Spacestation, Andrew, aside from the really, really smart Goblin Barrel, was that they went with something fast where they felt they could take advantage over being more in sync than their opponents.
And you know what? Just to go right back to it again, only 5 cards are played that early on. You both start at 20 elixir, but you end up taking 1,000 damage. That's such a clear indicator of exactly what you're speaking on, Rich.
So AC and RF looking like they're back in business as a 2v2 duo. One thing to note there, Andrew, is despite the loss for Surge and Razor, neither one looked super frustrated. They looked like they were still in a pretty good spot mentally.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I just don't understand what's happening with the 2v2 of Team Liquid. There's so many great squads, so many great duos there, but you know, you look at Spacestation Gaming, you see them kind of waffling here and there, but overall, they're on the same page. That just seems to be something that Liquid can never find in this season.
Taking a look at the replay here, so check this out. The barrel goes to the outside, and they went to that same outside spot a couple of times, and notice the troop placement every single time is to the inside here. So that was the first one, and of course here is just the finish on that right-hand lane.
Yeah, the troop placement and also the troop expenditure. They dropped 3 troops on top of that, Rich. They spent 3 times as much elixir as their opponents to take all that damage. So no big surprise here in the 2v2 set. However, Team Liquid, it does feel like this King of the Hill set is a place that they kind of match more evenly against Spacestation Gaming. If it weren't 2020 in the fall, it just doesn't seem like they match up well anywhere right now.
Yeah, I mean, and you got to wonder again, what would happen if Razor and Surge or whatever 2v2 duo they want would be able to practice and play next to each other rather than kind of starting late, getting in rhythm together against a lot of already established duos. But that's not the question anymore. The question now is, does Spacestation continue to run through them in King of the Hill, or does this all-powered lineup from Team Liquid finally hold up in the second set?
Yeah, well, it's been interesting. We haven't actually seen Surgical Goblin show up since their second match, which was a win against Chivas Esports in head-to-head play. So maybe we'll see him back today. It's been a really interesting season for Surgical Goblin. I mean, it almost feels like we would be, remiss to not talk about it, just because, you expect more out of the guy. And even if he isn't playing the best, you still expect to see him on the field more. So again, there's a lot of questions out there for Team Liquid. Why can't they find the 2v2 duo? What's going on with Surgical Goblin? Is the team chemistry okay? How much of their 2v2 squad not being able to communicate in person is a detriment to their success? All of these things that you have to ask if you're Team Liquid.
On the other side of it, Andrew, you mentioned earlier that King of the Hill has been all the God RF, 3 sweeps this season, tying the regular season record of Vulcan back for Complexity Esports in the spring of 2019. Of course, he added a 4th during the playoffs that season. RF has been the bright spot in King of the Hill, and it just feels like Samuel and Lapo haven't had a chance to play very much because of how good he's been.
Yeah, that's actually just a really, really good way to put it. Samuel took a 1v1 set over Adrian. Lapo took one over Schwarzen. But when the God RF is doing that well in 2v2 in King of the Hill, it's a great thing for your squad when you talk about record, but maybe it's a little bit of a bad thing when you talk about keeping your head-to-head guys sharp.
Well, we'll get a chance to see Samuel here, who so far has not picked up a King of the Hill this season. 0-3 in the second set as he goes up against the Giant Slayer Canario to kick things off.
Yeah, Samuel getting taken down by TNT and then Air Surfer and most recently Javi Catorce. So it's not like he's losing to just anybody out there, but you still expect Samuel to sort of pick up some King of the Hill victories.
Maybe a little early on the cycle with the Fisherman here. Instead of activating King Tower, just kind of helping those pigs get a better bite of that left-hand tower, and it is going to be the Royal Giant Royal Ghost deck for the Brazilian.
Yeah, and that Royal Ghost was tanked for by that Royal Giant, but Hunter in the perfect position, going to clean it off the board very, very quickly, and Canario just right back on offense with really not even having to spend anything because this is technically a counter push.
And that's a nice set of spells in both directions here. Slight elixir advantage going to Samuel, but way behind on damage as the first minute of gameplay passes.
Yeah, and if you look at Canario's deck here, he's got a lot of great responses to the Royal Giant. He's got the Goblin Cage, he's got the Log, he's got the Fisherman, and of course that Hunter, that DPS from the Hunter is imperative.
Royal Giant cycled in the back for Samuel. Hunter played into the Fisherman. Fish go bye-bye, and the Hunter does have to get a response from the E-Rays.
I'm a little surprised we didn't see Canario place anything in front of the Hunter, but I guess he wouldn't have been able to get to the Fisherman, so it's just kind of a difficult spot for him. And that Log, the Goblin Cage works against him and blocks the Royal Giant from resetting, pushing him right back into the cage. Royal Giant stays on the tower.
Very strange sequence here, and that Heal Spirit does not get in quite as quickly as Samuel would have liked, but either way, only behind by a little under 300 HP is the Spacestation Gaming player. Canario in the lead, but it seems a bit on the balance right now.
Yeah, so you imagine a high Fisherman's going to come in here from Samuel. Nothing there to block, or excuse me, for Canario to catch that RG, but nothing there to block from Samuel.
You see, as soon as that Fireball comes in, aggressive counter push coming in with the Royal Hogs from Canario. but now Samuel has 2 fully healthy units and a Royal Ghost in front of them going the opposite direction, and here comes the Royal Giant.
The Royal Giant behind, maybe going to get a Goblin Cage or Goblin Hut late. Goblin Cage, wow, late up high. And Royal Giant still gets 2 shots in.
Samuel in the lead as we hit the final 15 seconds of regulation time, and this Royal Ghost will clean up nicely. Smart Earthquake there out of Canario to put some tamp damage on tower and force out a response. We are very, very close as we go into sudden death overtime.
Yeah, the Earthquake does not come down, and then that Brawler will connect to the tower, so really, really nice there from Canario. Now Canario playing the Fisherman game up high. Nice placement there on the Fisherman, going to make it so the Royal Giant can't come down right now, and back in that spell cycle race is Canario, and he should be getting very close to that Fisherman again.
Royal Giant down in front, and this is going to be a full-on Fish Go Boom combo, perfectly executed there by Samuel.
Yeah, that's trouble. That Hunter getting pulled in early is really, really dangerous for Canario, and now you see this Royal Giant gets 2 shots in, doesn't get the 3rd, but a Fireball puts it really close.
Yeah, not quite in Fireball range yet, but Canario does not have much to stop this, and he will not. Samuel takes game number 1 of King of the Hill.
Yeah, you see that high early cycled Goblin Cage from Canario, and that's it right there, because now that Royal Giant can come down late, and there's no way to stop it other than the log, because you know the Fisherman pull is not going to happen. That Goblin Hut, not Goblin Cage, wow, not being in cycle. I don't know why I'm struggling with that so much right now. That Goblin Cage not being in cycle just means it's game over.
Yeah, and the Goblin Cage, every time he did get it down, it seemed like it evaporated so quickly. Samuel did a very, very good job of winning the bridge battle and using the Fisherman late. You saw that last one pulling in, I believe it was the Hunter of Canario that Fisherman pulled in. Fisherman pulls that Hunter in, the native Hunter takes it out, and from there it was just a downhill run for Samuel.
Yeah, I mean, the Hunter really is the true response for Canario. He needs to get those other units down to defend or pull the unit around, but the Hunter is the way to kill the Royal Giant. And, you know, that first replay was that late Goblin Cage, and then the log coming out, pushing it back into the cage, and the Royal Giant stays on tower.
You know, you gotta wonder how much of this sequence is that Earthquake that you put on tower. Maybe Canario starting his spell cycle a half step early, didn't have enough to help out and wasn't able to block the Fisherman from pulling his Hunter in, and that was the end of that defense, the beginning of the win for Samuel.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was the 2nd cycled Earthquake. The first one, you and I were both a fan of. It slowed everything down, demanded a bigger response out. I believe that was the 2nd cycled Earthquake that, as you said, it came in just a little bit early. Canario felt like he was going to be able to maintain the game better than he was, and that Elixir was something he truly, truly needed on defense, as you saw exactly how it unfolded in that final replay.
So Samuel does get his first King of the Hill win this season. We will not be seeing a 4th sweep out of the God RF today, but I'm sure he doesn't care too much when his teammates get going, taking the pressure off. We're going to jump into our 2nd game. Razor up now for Team Liquid.
Yeah, Razor, you know, nicknamed him the King Killer because of what he has done in King of the Hill in his career, but you know, just as it has been with the rest of Team Liquid this season, just not really firing the way he used to.
Royal Ghost cycled in the back here for Razor.
Razor 1-3 on the season in head-to-head games that have all taken place in King of the Hill.
And high Mega Knight. But a little Benedict Arnold action, some betrayal there, bringing the Mega Knight all the way in. Tons of damage for Samuel here.
Yeah, tons of damage for Samuel, but a very healthy Mega Knight here for Razor. Oh, and that retarget on the leap. Crazy interaction there in regards to that Hunter getting taken off the board. And yes, there's a King Tower activation, but look at this.
Tons of damage in on the left-hand side. Samuel, big problems as we get past the first minute 15.
And it almost looked as if Razor had lost the tower there by his body language, but a great hit early on. And like you said, that Fisherman sometimes... Benedict Arnold, yes, in getting that tower damage in, but it was a really nice reset for Razor in regards to being able to orchestrate his push the way he'd like.
So as we go into the final 20 seconds of single Elixir time, a lot of trouble here for Samuel, although the big question is how will Razor defend against these graveyards?
A nice bar barrel there from Samuel, looking for that Fisherman, but just placed in time, perfectly in time, gets that pull on the Mega Knight.
And a good Mega Knight on defense you saw there out of Razor to make sure that the opposing Mega Knight did not leap to the tower or to the Royal Ghost. Final minute of gameplay. Razor with a chance here to tie things up. Samuel, though, going to build up a big push on the left-hand side.
Yeah, left-hand side right now is where you imagine Sam's going to sell out, so he needs to make sure he's probably got an Ewiz sight for the back of the tower, also his bar barrel, and then enough elixir to drop that Mega Knight up high. So there's the Ewiz. There's the bar barrel. And now not enough elixir for the Mega Knight goes to the Ram Rider. That makes sense.
Good Ram Rider out of Razor, and Samuel has to respond to it in some way, decides to say no. He's going to take that Ram Rider shot and try to find some way across the bridge. Mega Knight cannot get there to tank. Maybe a bar barrel comes in support. Ewiz comes down. Poison trying to get enough damage on the left-hand side for Samuel, but it looks like Razor's going to hold on and take the win in game number 2, tying things up for Team Liquid.
Yeah, that first exchange not going the way Samuel thought. For a moment there, he maybe felt like he'd gotten a bit of luck or a bit of fortune there with the Fisherman from Razor, but we've kind of been in that position before. As the Fisherman maybe pulls your opponent's unit in, it also helps you reset your offense. And so Razor doubles down, gets that Ram Rider behind. Ewiz in as well. Really, really nice plays.
So another set of King of the Hill woes here for Samuel. Razor puts him back down, and we haven't seen a ton of Ram Rider, Andrew, in this midpoint of the season.
Yeah, you know, we really haven't. Maybe it's because there was just so many buildings early on, buildings plus log, or maybe, you know, mortar was a little bit more popular earlier on. But right now, in this matchup specifically, this Ram Rider push, we're going to see goes very, very well. So he starts with the Mega Knight, and then he goes immediate Ram Rider. The bar barrel comes out, and this is where things go wrong for Samuel. That Mega Knight turns its head mid-leap and goes to the Hunter, which he really needed to clean off the board. Fisherman now pulls the Ram Rider instead of the Mega Knight to activate King, and Mega Knight stays on Princess Tower with the Ewiz behind. Just a horrible series of events for Samuel in regards to one interaction starting off a little bit odd, and then all of the rest following suit on his side of the board.
I mean, I recognize that play on defense because I've made it 1,000 times against a Mega Knight, right?
Yeah.
You throw out a distracting troop, and you get down the next piece, but you get it down too quickly. You get it down in the wrong moment, and Mega Knight goes, nope, I'm going that way, and completely blows up the entire defense. So a little over-eager there on the sequencing for Samuel in that one, and now Razor evens things up in King of the Hill, a set where Team Liquid had hoped he would be getting a few more wins than he has this season, currently at 2-3 in his record for the number 2 set.
Yeah, it's those small interactions that really does make Clash Royale such a special game. You know, you talk about getting something down a millisecond before or a millisecond after and how much that can change the game.
Log cycled for RF, showing the not often seen these days Ice Spirit.
Wow, and just a Tesla cycled early on, so Razor going to immediately go on offense, which is the correct thing to do here. RF going to go right on offense as well with the Expo. Not timed perfectly, though. He would have loved to have that be a demand to get something else down while that Goblin Cage pops.
Trying to protect the Expo the best he can is RF, but this is going to be a Lava Hound Inferno Tower behind. Curious to see 3.0 coming out from RF.
Yeah, I mean, right now he seems to be okay if you think about all the distraction units he has for this Inferno Dragon, being able to cycle back around, but oh, that's a great zap. Fireball has to come out early. Excellent zap from Razor.
Yeah, really, really nicely played. And you see Razor with a bit of a smile on that one, getting that right-hand tower down to under 1,000 HP.
Razor calls RF's bluff and then some.
Both guys taking their moment to reset here.
And this
RF
is smart.
sets up Knight to the right-hand side.
I like that Razor doesn't go Lava Hound, obviously, because he knows what he's going up against. Doesn't want to spend that 7 elixir. Expo immediately comes down, and then he's caught playing, you know, catch up with the Goblin Cage and other units. Now you see more than enough in the hand. Might take a little bit of damage, but that Baby Dragon going to even things up pretty nicely.
Now to contend with the Brawler on the right-hand side plays the Skeletons low, does RF. Log does have to come out there in the end.
So now down 2 Elixir. We might see Razor Lava Hound up here in the back. Nope, goes up high with the Lava Hound. And Fisherman just in time.
And a nice cage low there out of Razor as well. So did a good job controlling this second Expo.
Doesn't have a ground unit though to catch this Expo again. So we see that Zap coming in to reset the Inferno on top of the Tesla. Bar barrel up high, and this is a very, very nicely put together push by Razor.
Yeah, that's really good Zap work from Razor. You mentioned the first one. That second one really solid as well. And this feels like it's going to be a pretty easy finish for Team Liquid's 2v2 player.
Yep, should be really, really nice and easy. If you're him, you're just going to spell cycle out. Won't even need it. There you go. Goblin Cage on defense. RF obviously looking very frustrated. No one likes to be in this position as an Expo player. No way to get there at 8 seconds. Razor looking real good.
Yeah, the Zap work out of Razor, as you mentioned, was really, really solid. And, you know, you're sitting there trying to control an Inferno Dragon with Skeletons, and your opponent has Zap. So good luck doing that one.
Yeah, exactly. And he knew what was coming. He knew what was going to happen. That's probably why you saw such a big smile out of his face, because he couldn't have written that better for himself. The Skeletons being the last line of defense, still having Zap in cycle, gets him off. Inferno locks on tower. GG, well played. Good luck trying to come back in a 2-tower game with Expo when you're down 1.
So here we go, taking a look at the replay here, and this is going to be that first sequence. Inferno Dragon comes on in, and the Zap there kind of trying to predict maybe the Ice Spirit as the reset. Doesn't matter. Gets on tower anyway.
Well, the Zap 2 keeps that Lava Hound alive just a little bit longer, that allows that sizzle from the Inferno Dragon to stay on the tower, because, you know, what's going to happen is the Lava Hound goes down, then the Inferno gets targeted by the Princess. That Zap makes it so that something else has to come out. Obviously, the Archers are already gone. Has to be played is the Skeletons. GG, well played there.
Yep, very, very nicely done. And Razor now with a pretty good opportunity to do something not a lot of teams have done, which is get through Space Station in the King of the Hill set and force them into that 1v1. Only 3 1v1 sets played so far by Space Station. Samuel is 1-1 in the third and final. Lapacati is 1-0.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see who we'll see. We haven't seen a lot of Lapacati from Space Station Gaming in the last couple matches, so I like Lapo facing off against Igor, but, you know, we have to get through this King of the Hill first. And Lapo, the guy that we're talking about, is going to be up next here facing off against Razor, who's gone on a pretty nice run here against Samuel and RF.
Yeah, I mean, a chance to have a King of the Hill sweep over one of the top teams in the game. Of course, Razor kind of burst onto the scene back in CRL North America because of his King of the Hill sweeps, putting up 2 early on in Complexity's run for the playoffs. Let's go ahead and jump into our game number 4, Lapacati against Razor.
Last time we saw Lapacati out is when he struggled against Javi Catorce in King of the Hill. Also, in the match before that, he struggled against Air Surfer in King of the Hill, but he 2-0'd Schwarzen. So we have seen a decent amount of Lapo this season in all 3 sets, actually.
So is Razor going Hog or going Expo? We'll find out here fairly soon. It would be a bit of cheek if he had gone the Expo rain direction, not doing it. Instead, going to be Hog triple spell.
Lapacati, a big fan of Hog triple spell, and he was in the Hunter. Definitely going to be 2 units that help take that Hog Rider off the board along with this Fisherman.
That Earthquake cycle, maybe just because he knew what he had on defense. You see immediately Lapo goes, you're going to play an Earthquake just on my tower and a Hunter? Cool, output a lot into the other lane. King Tower activation does not happen for Razor. So instead gives up a ton of damage, and that Mega Knight dies a half step early.
Yeah, you see Razor there take a big exhale. It could have went much worse for Razor. It could have went a lot better, though, as well. I'd maybe give him a 6 on that defense.
Passing the midway point of regulation, Lapacati cycles his Hunter to the left-hand side, immediate Hog Rider to the right-hand side. Fisherman to get the King Tower activation for the Space Station player.
Yep, nice Hog King Tower activation there. Hunter gets that shot in late.
Smart log there to keep the Hunter from shooting on the bomb tower, and now with the Mega Knight cycle to the left-hand side, Razor will play the Knight to pick up its focus and probably put some archers behind to DPS it down.
Archer's low, looking for maybe a graveyard from his opponent. Goes Hog Rider to the right-hand side, and a decent amount here on the left. Mega Knight pretty healthy.
That's a good Knight there from Razor, though, to control the Mega Knight and the E-Wiz. And Razor now starting to get a little bit back into this one. Does have dual lane damage so far. 1936 to the left, 1958 to the right. Lapo with the overall damage lead, though.
So now Razor going in with that Earthquake cycle again. Does Lapo try to punish him? And he does. You see the Mega Knight set up in the back again. That's Lapo's idea of him being in an elixir advantage, so now he needs to go back on offense. Maybe a Hunter here in response. Nope, gonna go Fisherman to support that Mega Knight.
My guess here is that the next time that we see that Hog Rider, if Razor is in a decent enough position, we'll see him throw skeletons at the bridge. Unfortunately, so far, he's had to use the skeletons to help out with controlling attention on his defensive side of the game. Yeah,
and so then, you know, to kind of add to your point, Rich, he'd like to throw the Knight up front, but he needs that Knight to tank for the Mega Knight. So Lapacati, he kind of throws his head there. I think he wanted to take that tower down or get it in poison range, but he's still in a great position.
And now a good variance on the defense here. Lapo going with the Electro Wizard high. Razor in a lot of trouble. 224 on the left-hand side. First of two poisons comes in. And it looks like Lapacati is going to prevent. And there you go. You see the skeletons split high, but doesn't matter. Mega Knight in response to the Hog Rider on the right-hand side.
Yep, and the Fisherman pull coming in. I believe actually that face was because of maybe the Hunter that Lapo had cycled. Doesn't matter. Tower going to go down here in just a second right after that bomb tower. Lapo gets the poison in. Calls the good game. And here we go, game number 5 coming your way, and this could be a preview of our 1v1 set, Rich.
It could be a preview of our 1v1 set, Andrew, and it could be Lapacati closing things out all the way. Spacestation Gaming with a match point opportunity against Team Liquid, who's trying to keep their hopes alive.
Yeah, Team Liquid here. It's been not as much out of Igor as we'd have expected this season. We'll get to that in just a second as we look here at this push coming in from Lapacati. I was saying this could have went a lot worse because those archers stayed alive, but it could have went way, way better for all the reasons that are much more obvious.
Yeah, a King Tower activation against Graveyard would be huge, especially considering the massive Graveyard push we saw shred the tower on the left-hand side. So failed King Tower activation on one side, successful on the other, and that's kind of the story of this fight.
Yeah, and to get back to what I was saying about Igor, you know, he's been playing pretty well in King of the Hill. I mean, he's picked up at least one win in every single King of the Hill appearance that he's had. That being said, his last 3 1v1 sets and the last 4 1v1 sets for Team Liquid have gone atrociously, only picking up 3 wins in all 4 of those sets, Rich.
It's going to be very curious if we do in fact get there, and you see Razor just maybe a little bit out of sorts on the defense against the Graveyard. The bomb tower distracted by the Mega Knight. Snowball comes in maybe a half step early. Tons of skeletons get on tower, and that's the value of a big old Mega Knight tanking. So maybe that was the tankage from the other game, now transferring over to this one. And now we go to game 5, King of the Hill, against 2 top young stars and 2 very close friends. Lapacati and Igor, they practice and play together all the time. They're in stream together all the time. There are very few players who know each other as well as these two that aren't on the same team.
Yeah, so this is going to be a really, really exciting matchup, and you love to hear how much these guys are, how close these guys are, and how much they work together as we hop into this final game of King of the Hill. It makes sense. They're both mortar gods. They love high interaction. They both got a little bit of a cheeky attitude, and they both have done so much for their teams in head-to-head play.
The question is, does one of them go mortar? And maybe that little grin there from Lapo was seeing that Igor is going to be going some sort of mortar deck, maybe not.
Oh, wow, and look at this. I'm wondering if these guys know exactly what the other one is running.
Sure looks like it. And you see some grinning from Lapacati here.
This is fun. This is definitely a lot of fun, and some tears out from Igor. So it appears that these gentlemen may know much more about this matchup than we do at the moment, because they've been here many times before, and you see right there, Lapacati, Fireball Log to clean up Royal Hogs plus Heal Spirit, and that maybe could explain a little bit of Igor's tears.
There comes the delivery on the right-hand side for the Musketeer. First minute away, and no significant damage either direction. Lapacati does have the slight lead over his close friend.
I'm having just as much fun watching Lapacati's face as I am watching the game this time around.
Yeah, for sure right now. That's definitely a highlight. Two of the top mortar players on the planet going head-to-head.
Yeah.
A lot of games played between these two.
And the patience there from Lapacati. He waits to see what his opponent's going to do. He fireballs first, then waits. Is he going to play the Heal Spirit so I can log? No, he's not. All right, then I'm going to play the Ice Spirit last second.
Spear Goblin's behind, a little bit of pressure. Log hit takes care of that easily. Igor and Lapacati, two of the top ladder players of all time. Of course, Lapacati, 2 number ones on top of 7 top 3 finishes. Igor, 5 number ones and 26 top 10 finishes.
Great use of the skeletons there up high. Ice Spirit low to mitigate 100% of the damage once again from the Royal Hogs, and to keep the Heal Spirit from getting on top of the Royal Hogs to heal them for an even trade.
Hunter cycles to the right-hand side, 35 seconds left in regulation play. And the pigs go to the left, and the Heal Spirit gets in, or the Fireball gets in a half-second late. Skeletons do get there and clean it up pretty easily.
Log in on this left-hand side. Hunter gets pulled into oblivion. A very, very healthy Royal Giant gets another heal on top of it. Fisherman Hunter come down in response, but still, RG gonna get a shot in.
Musketeer trying to clean that up. A lot on the right-hand side right now for Lapacati. And the Royal Giant to protect the Musketeer. Smart Royal Giant. Often when you see a Royal Giant actually tanking for a troop on the back end, it's the bad idea, but that one worked out perfectly for Lapo.
Yeah, but Lapo had to overspend there on the right-hand side, or did overspend there on the right-hand side. Did not have enough elixir to fireball or drop anything in response to those hogs on the left. So this game very, very close because both of these guys are min-maxing quite a bit. A great pre-log.
Brilliant pre-log. The Ice Spirit, Heal Spirit combination out of Lapo is one of the strangest things I've ever seen, and it is so much fun.
It's, you know, we've been seeing Double Spirit a lot more now that Electro Spirit has come into the game. Obviously not available in competitive play, but it is something that's kind of opened up Pandora's box to see how this Double Spirit archetype or Double Spirit meta, maybe in a little bit, has started to work together.
Skeletons covering, Heal Spirit comes on in, Log trying to make some room, Fireball does it, and looks
Beautiful.
like Lapacati gonna get it done. Well played from Igor. I think he knew what Lapo was running very, very early on, and a big let's go as the Belarusian closes things out for Space Station.
Yeah, Lapacati is hyped up, taking down his mortar brother here to bring home another match victory for Space Station Gaming, and that feels great for Lapacati. We haven't seen a lot of him over the last few matches just because of how well AC and RF have been playing. So hats off to him, and again, I can't wait to go back and watch that game just to kind of see all that was being said behind the scenes with the BM and, of course, well, not even the BM, we'll just call him emotes, and, of course, Lapacati's face.
So this Royal Giant up here is really, really brilliant out of Lapacati, right? You know, again, we talked about it. A kiting Royal Giant or a true meat shield Royal Giant, most of the time, does not work out correctly. But that Royal Giant buys enough time and gets some damage, but because of how fast this deck cycles, he's able to get a second Royal Giant down in front of the same Musketeer. That 1 HP Muskie is on the board for a very long time, still working, and that's going to be a ton of damage. Huge, huge game for Lapo.
Yeah, you know, at first glance, it would feel like Igor and Lapo came out of that exchange pretty even, but as you said, Rich, perfectly explained, he's able to get that Royal Giant back down, and that's the moment where you truly recognize, oh wow, Igor really, really overspent on defense. Yes, he got damage on the left-hand side, but if you talk about what's coming down the right, that second Royal Giant, nothing there for it. Brilliantly played by Lapacati. A good matchup for Lapacati, which him and his friend both recognized early on, but really, really well played.
Yeah, and you know, I cannot wait to get my hands on the, what was the fastest cycle? I think that got around in 5 elixir, right? Skeletons, Ice Spirit, Heal Spirit, and Log.
Yeah.
That's an insanely
Yeah.
fast cycle Royal Giant deck, and Lapo's enjoyed playing fast cycle Royal Giant decks in the past. So I mean, I can't wait to get my hands on it myself.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of what he used to defend that last hog push on the left-hand side. I'm pretty sure it was just skeletons, or maybe it was skeletons plus either a log or something else that was one elixir. Like you said, taking a lot of damage on that left-hand side so that he could get that second Royal Giant down was imperative. And for a moment there, like I said, it looked a little bit more even because that RG using as a kite, as you said, Rich, usually isn't the best thing, but so much elixir has to come down to defend. Lapo's already all the way back around. I'll be honest, I'm excited to play that deck too.
Yeah, I mean, the meat shield Royal Giant, usually the DPS at the bridge is too high, right? Usually that's a desperation move. It's almost, we talk about how you have a defensive miner, sometimes the right move, sometimes it's a panic move. And often a Royal Giant as a meat shield's a panic move. This case, though, I think that Lapo knew the cycle was so fast he could get around and protect that Musketeer. That Musketeer had as little HP as is humanly possible in this game and still stayed on the board and made a nightmare for Igor.
Well, Lapo made that all look easy, right? Because if you're using the Royal Giant to kite or tank, it's because if you look at the rest of his deck, it's so cheap and fast. That's really your only meat shield you have. What's so impressive is using those skeletons, the spirits, heal, and ice together, those 3 elixir, so effectively. He made it look easy. I've tried to do the double spirit thing with electro spirit and ice spirit, or electro and heal spirit. It's not easy. Those interactions were basically perfect from Lapo every single time.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And this is a great performance by Spacestation Gaming, who so far has been kind of leaning on RF. I like this performance today, where they got the 2v2 win, a gritty one, but then they got their real heavy lifting in the King of the Hill out of their other players.
So we're really starting to see the separation in the pack here as we take a look at our standings. Yes, Tribe and Cream at 4-2 and 4-3 respectively are in 4th and 5th place, but SK, Queso, and Spacestation Gaming really do feel like they've separated themselves from the pack by just a little bit. But you know what? I might be saying something different tomorrow when Tribe comes back out. At the bottom half, Rich, it's starting to feel like this is getting a little bit more set in stone.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very, very brutal for Chivas and Liquid, and of course Misfits. The big question is whether Pain can overtake Dig.
Yeah.
And we still have to see Dig play tomorrow. We still have to see Pain play tomorrow. Cream has to be feeling pretty happy about creating a little extra room there on that side.
Yeah, and Pain Gaming really hurting for giving up that one match victory they had early on in the season. Let's take a look at what we got going on tomorrow. I just mentioned it. Tribe feels like they've, the wheels have not come off, but they've been a little squeaky over their last couple appearances. They need to come out and dominate Dignitas if they want to move forward into that top 3. And then to close out our day, Rich, Pain Gaming going up against Team Queso and the force that is Ruby Zales.
I can't wait for that match in particular. The first one, Tribe and Dig, is critical. It's a match right in the middle, and the winner will take a very big step. The loser will be in a bit of trouble, obviously. But this Queso Pain game, I can't wait to get to it because I think Pain can win this 2v2. I give the advantage 2v2 to Lucas and Wallace, and that King of the Hill is anybody's game. It truly is anybody's game. Obviously, Ruben is an X factor. Obviously, IMJP can get moving. But I do not think tomorrow is a guarantee for Queso, and I guarantee you that Space Station will be watching very closely to see if Queso loses this one, because Space Station still has their matchup yet to come against the cheesy ones.
Yeah, and the cheesy ones with IMJP getting back in fighting form make them that much more threatening. You add in a completely well-oiled machine that is Ruben, that is excelling expectations. IMJP is getting back on track. It's just about the cheesy ones figuring out that 2v2 set to get it a little bit more consistent moving forward, but it is not a must-win set for them like it is for so many other squads. Guys, how did you do today in Fantasy Royale? Did you pick some of those players like Michifu that dominated today, picking up a handful of crowns, or did you maybe pick the wrong guy from a certain squad? Maybe you picked Sam over Morton. That's okay. They still both picked up some crowns. Remember, 250,000 gold, 100 gems, and you saw it today. It was a good effort against Lucas, who ran a very odd Electro Giant triple spell deck. Break time battles. Check it out. StatsRoyale.com. Top 50. Get on the leaderboards. Top 5. Get a little bit of swag. And number 1 will be playing up against Rockstar YT, our good friend Rockstar, next week for our break time battles.
So, Andrew, we have one more very important question.
Yep.
And that's, we're going to have our overall voting for the weekend coming in tomorrow. After we still have 2 more matches to go. But who's your MVP on the day thus far?
I think for me, my MVP today, it's hard to not give it to Morten. He extends the life of SK with that King of the Hill sweep to give it to Javi to close out. And of course, you talk about what he did in that 2v2. Not normal for him, but Diego B and Pompeo are pretty strong. I'll give him a pass.
Yeah, it feels like Morten definitely was the big clutch up. We'll see if anyone can do the same thing again tomorrow. 10 in the West, 1 in the S, and the East, 7 in Europe. We'll see you back here for more Clash Royale League West.